beautiful warm night here on the north side of Chicago, and another installment of one of the best rivalries in baseball, including a meeting up of old buddies and old teammates. In this case, Dexter Fowler, the former Cub. The Cubs have won the first 2 games of this series from the Cardinals to get back to the 500 mark. It started on Friday, as mentioned. Dexter Fowler coming back to Chicago, got his ring, and then homered to lead off the game. Chris Bryant would answer for the Cubs with a home run in the 3rd inning. And then in the 8th, Anthony Rizzo doubles. Then he takes 3rd on this ground ball, and he scores on a sac fly by Jason Hayward. That's the difference. Cubs win 3-2. Yesterday, Yadier Molina with his 6th home run of the season. That came off John Lester. But a guy who really needed a big hit came up with a huge one. A grand slam for Kyle Schwarber. And the Cubs beat the Cardinals again by a score of 5-3. And it's really tight in the National League Central right now. You can make a case neither of these teams is playing as well as they thought they would or feel they need to, but nobody's run away in the division, so everybody feels they've got a chance. Tonight marks our 3rd and final installment of Sunday from the Seats here on ESPN. We come to you in the 2nd row, just to the left of the bleachers, over this little patio area here in right field. Got a great view into the infield, especially once the sun goes down over there. But there's 3 of us. We'll find the ball at some point. Dan Schulman, Aaron Boone, and David Ross is with us tonight. Jess is covering the Women's College World Series. She'll be back next week. Of course, this guy knows a thing or two about this ballpark. We'll get to Rossi in a second. But Aaron, let's start with you and the Cardinals under 500. Kind of a perennial contender. Where are they at right now? Well,
let's start with the real good, and that's been the starting pitching. And Michael Wacha goes. He's back from injury a year ago. This has been arguably the best top-to-bottom rotation in Major League Baseball, but the other elements of the game have not synced up. The offense, which was outstanding a season ago and really relied on the long ball, not hitting for the same power, but struggling with runners in scoring position. The bullpen is struggling to hang on to those leads the starting pitching has gotten them, and the defense, which was the biggest issue a season ago, is better, but still not where it needs to be a championship level club.
All right, for the Cubs to be a championship level club like they were last year when David was a part of the team, things have to get better as well. Now they're back at 500. They've won 2 in a row. Are they heading in the right direction?
I think they're heading in the right direction, but they've been bad across the board. It's been, the starting pitch has been very inconsistent, which was so great last year. The offense has struggled. You've seen some young at bats, some guys in slumps, you know, for a long period of time, not being able to come out and have just a good at bat. You know, a lot of strikeouts in the middle of that order. And then you got the defense, which was so solid last year at a record pace. That goes right along with that starting pitching. But the good news is the division is wide open, and there's a lot of games left.
And there's 2/3 of the season still to go. All teams with over 100 games left in the season. We mentioned Kyle Schwarber had that huge hit for the Cubs last night. Man, did he need it. For more on that, here's Buster.
Dan, Kyle Schwarber said relief, because let's face it, his first 2 months were terrible. Among 171 hitters in the big leagues, he ranks next to last in batting average at 166. This is after the Cubs expected that he would make up for at least some of the offense lost when Dexter Fowler signed with the St. Louis Cardinals. So the Cubs' hope now is that with that Saturday slam, Kyle Schwarber has drawn a line in the sand, and then he can continue to build his confidence against the Cardinals tonight. Dan?
Hi, Buster. Thank you very much. Getting ready for the ball game. Beautiful night. I thought the sun was causing a lot of the brightness. In truth, there's a little bling over here causing some brightness as well. David Ross back at Wrigley Field and enjoying himself. Fans loving having him back. And we got him for the ball game here tonight as the Cubs take on the Cardinals to wrap up this 3-game series. ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's new Naked Chicken Chips. Some shots from last October. David Ross and the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series. And David, of course, now part of our ESPN baseball family. And we got him for tonight's game. Where are we over there? So many shots. As we are out here, second row, right field bleachers. Beautiful look into the ballpark for a game between the Cardinals and the Cubs. Let's show you the starting lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals, presented by Taco Bell.
Well, let's go right to the top. And what should be a strength for this club, Dexter Fowler, off to a little bit of a slow start. He's starting to swing the bat better, but he needs to get closer to that 400 on base that he was from both sides of the plate a year ago for the world champion Cubs. And Matt Carpenter also off to a slow start. He's a guy that we expect to see up close to 900 in that OPS before long. He needs to get it rolling for this offense to really take flight.
On the mound tonight for the Cubs is right-hander Kyle Hendricks, making his 11th start of the season, 4-3 with a 3.75 ERA. But you can see much better in his last 7 than he was in his first 3. The major league leader in ERA a year ago at 2.13. Not a hard thrower by any stretch of the imagination, but good movement. A lot of changeups, very important pitch for him. And of course, with David Ross sitting with us tonight, we'll get all the inside scoop on the arsenal of Kyle Hendricks as we are underway here at Wrigley. And here's Dexter Fowler. Had a reunion with his teammates over the weekend, his ex-teammates I should say, as we showed you right off the top. Came back on Friday and got his World Series ring. And David, let's jump right into it. I mean, everybody says this guy was just one of the best teammates they've had.
He's amazing. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing player. He gives you a good at bat. He's one of those guys that whether he's hitting 400, just like Mike Matheny said today, whether he's hitting 400 or 200, he's the same guy every day and brings Gold Glove defense out there in center. Kind of moves guys around. Really works both sides of the ball, which is good.
Hendricks misses just low with that changeup, but he falls behind 3-1 on Fowler, who will, as David says, be patient, grind out at bats. Early stat there on Hendricks. Been a long time since he's walked anybody as he's into the knees for a full count.
He was a guy that gets us going. You know, he really gets us going, and that leadoff guy works a good at bat. The pitcher has to use all their pitches first at bat. It kind of shows everybody what kind of repertoire they got that day.
In the air to center field, deep, but caught, staggering a little bit. Is Ian Happ back on the edge of the track, but Fowler retired, 1 down.
Stumbled a little bit out there, but again, this time of night, the sun, even though it's not right in his eyes, probably a little bit of factor. One thing that helps him is he gets a pretty good jump, so that allows him to stagger and still be able to make that play as the ball was hit pretty sharply off the bat of Dexter Fowler. See that sun kind of shining in on his eyes just a little bit, probably making it a little tougher, but he's able to hold on out there.
So 1 down, and here's Matt Carpenter hitting in the 2 spot, the first baseman for the Cardinals, a guy who has been an extremely productive hitter in recent years, but some atypical Carpenter numbers. The one that jumps out at you is that .216 batting average. Coming into this year, Carpenter was a .284 career hitter, and of course, guys, he's had huge doubles numbers in his career. Led the majors 1 year with 55, led the National League another year with 44. Only 5 doubles so far this year. What do you guys see in Matt Carpenter?
His game is high on base and slug, and that hasn't been there yet. And just talking to Mike Matheny before the game, he's so talented, but you can tell he's just kind of trying to find his way. He's grinding through and trying to find that feeling that we're all trying to find as hitters. Once he does, he'll lock it in and string some together.
Jason Hayward with a sprawling catch in right field.
How many times did you see that playing for the Cubs, David?
That's a normal play for Jay Hay. It's a special play, but you see that all the time. That's why he's got a bunch of Gold Gloves sitting at the house.
Well, you talked about it in the open. The defense, I felt like, was the biggest separator between the Cubs and other clubs last year, and it was dynamic plays like this from all over the field, especially Jason Hayward, who gets a great jump on that ball, and with the dealing with the sun, lays out and shows off his athleticism to the appreciation of Kyle Hendricks.
We talked about it often. As good as the Cubs were offensively, as great as the pitching was, statistically, the real separator was the defense last year. It was historically good. What the Cubs did defensively last year hasn't been quite at the same level, though you can't really blame Hayward for that. He's a stalwart out in right field.
What's amazing is being at this angle out here and seeing that play made. It's just totally different than being in the dugout and being behind home plate. You kind of see him got a beat on it from home plate. That was amazing.
2 down in the inning. This is Stephen Piscotty, the right fielder for the Cardinals, hitting .239 on the season. A very tough time recently for Piscotty, who went home to be with family for a few days. It was his mother was very recently diagnosed with ALS, and he went home to be with his family for 5 days and spend some time with his immediate family. And his mom was okay with Stephen being very open about it when he came back and talking about it. We certainly sent all of our thoughts to Stephen and his family. A very tough time for him, and you can only imagine how difficult it is to come back and focus on baseball with that going on at home.
Mentally, that's the toughest thing. Baseball is such a mental game, and then when you have problems off the field or things that are weighing on your heart off the field, it's tough to give that 100% focus on the field.
Ground ball to short, scooped up by Russell, and that's a 3-out, 3-down inning. So Kyle Hendricks gets the Cardinals in order, gets some terrific defense behind him from Jason Hayward. Even Matt Carpenter admires it. And Cubs, another installment of one of the game's great rivalries, one of the oldest rivalries in all of baseball as well. No scores. We go to the bottom of the first, and here's the starting lineup for the Cubs, presented by Taco Bell.
Well, if the Cubs are going to get going, it starts with Chris Bryant. I mean, this guy is swinging the bat well. If he's having good at bats in front of those guys behind him, he's going to do well. But Anthony Rizzo is getting on base and really hitting the ball. At a 464 clip off Waka. This guy owns Michael Waka in this series.
Waka, part of statistically the best rotation in baseball. The Cardinal rotation is #1 in the major leagues in ERA. Waka on the season 2-3, 399. Last 2 haven't been as good, hasn't lasted as long. Just 4 innings in one, 3 in another. Guy who came up, of course, burst onto the scene as a 21-year-old in 2013 and did great things in the regular season and the postseason. Ian Happ leads it off, and Waka over to cover on the play, so that's 4-1 on the putout as Happ retired. 1 down.
Well, keep an eye on Waka tonight. Coming off a couple outings where he struggled. Command's a big deal for him. When he's commanding his fastball down, and he'll typically be in the mid-90s with that fastball, but he's so tall and so far over the top that he really creates what we call tilt, a tough angle to hit the fastball. And when his fastball is down, that's usually when his changeup plays up, because that becomes a chase pitch for him.
That fastball command is so important for guys like this at that angle. When you've got that fastball command to both sides of the plate, makes all your other stuff that much better.
Chris Bryant, the batter. So how does that tilt, that arm angle, get away from a pitcher?
Well, go ahead. Yeah, well, I just think that when you stay tall and as big as Waka is, you get that plane where the bat path just seems to not square up the ball. And when they stay tall and not get too much of a long stride, he tends to be able to keep the ball down in the zone. When it gets up, it gets flat.
And I liken it to if you were at home and somebody stood on a table and dropped the ball and you had to hit it, like soft toss style. Much more difficult than if a guy was flipping it underhand upward, which is more of a flat feeling. And that's when he's at his best right there. He got a generous call right there down, but at 96, it creates such a nice angle, and then his changeup becomes a real weapon off of this angle because he gets great arm speed on it, and he'll get chases out of the strike zone.
1-2. And the curveball down and away. Last start, Waka hardly threw any changeups. You mentioned the pitch, Mooney. It's a vital pitch for his success. But Mike Matheny told us when he can't get the ball down, he gets away from the changeup and may throw more fastballs and curveballs. The changeup is only a weapon for him, obviously, when he keeps it down in the zone. 2-2 fastball fouled off by Bryant. 97.
If he gets 97 at the knees like he did earlier, that pitch off Bryant, he's going to be tough to hit today.
The Cubs have had some good success against Waka in his career. Packed house here at Wrigley. Mostly blue, a little red here in the house in Chicago. And the 2-2 fastball there for strike 3 called, 2 down.
98 miles an hour on that fastball. And even though he got a generous call, I'm sure Mike Matheny's looking on saying, love the command of that fastball in that sequence. He went away with the fastball, but he also a couple of times came in, but all of it down in the strike zone. If he can continue that, that will lead to success even against this Cub lineup.
So 2 down to the bases empty for Cub first baseman Anthony Rizzo. Not typical Rizzo numbers in some categories. He is hitting for power, driving and runs. There's the big curveball in for a strike. But we talked about Matt Carpenter being just a 216. That looks a little strange. Anthony Rizzo is just a 226. That looks a little strange.
I look at the at-bats. These guys, he's having really good at-bats. You know, taking his walks. You know, there's still the homers are there for him at KB. It just, you know, they hadn't had a whole lot going around them, so you don't know if you're going to get pitched to in certain situations and how they're going to attack you, whether they're going to come right at you or wait for the guys that are struggling further down the lineup.
Waka's way out in front, 0-2. And there's that a 90-mile-an-hour changeup that just missed down and away.
It sure was.
90-mile-an-hour changeup.
He's right my bat speed, Booney.
1-2 the count. Fastball lined into right field, a base hit, and the Cubs with a 2-out single.
This sun is so in our face out here. I looked up like it was coming our way. I had no idea that was a line drive, but this was a pitch that by design, he's been so good down in the zone. Yadier wanted this ball up. He wanted to challenge him up around the belt. He didn't get it as high as he wanted, but he got it in. But as David hit on, he's had a lot of success. Rizzo has against Waka in his career. He's able to get to the barrel to that inside pitch and lace it into right.
So it seems nobody crowds the plate like Anthony Rizzo does. You caught for 15 years in the big leagues. Did anybody you ever played against crowd as much as Rizzo?
There was one other guy. Remember, in my first spring training in big league camp, Mo Vaughn stepped to the plate and had that big elbow guard. And Paul Quantrill told me to set up in, and I told him there is no in. There's not one there. So, you know, and I'm a big guy, so getting in there was tough. And same thing with Riz. We played him in Boston when I was catching for Boston, and he came to the plate. And I'm like, who is this guy and why is he so close to the dish? It was impressive. He's right on there. He's daring you to bring it in there, and you see how he pulled his hands in on that last pitch, fastball in.
And how hard is it to get a pitcher to actually throw 3 balls and dot it in there?
The harder part is getting an umpire to call 3 strikes in there. They can't see. The umpires can't seem to see when I'm in there, or, you know, as catchers, we're bigger guys, and then you get a big guy like Riz, and then the bat's hanging over the plate. So to be set up in there and execute the pitch, one is hard, and then to have the umpire give you the borderline strike.
The in ball to a lefty
is very tough, very tough, especially when they're crowding the dish.
2-1 the count on Ben Zobrist with 2 down and Rizzo at first. Zobrist back in the cleanup spot, was moved up to leadoff, back down to cleanup recently. Joe Maddon's done some tinkering with the lineup. And a ground ball to first, an easy play to end the inning. No runs, a base hit, and a man left. No score at the end of 1. Monday Night Baseball on ESPN. No score, Cardinals and Cubs. The Cubs right at 500. The Cardinals a game under. The Cubs have taken the first 2 games of the series in a tightly bunched National League Central. Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Cubs, and Cardinal third baseman Jed Jerko will lead it off.
Interesting first pitch from Kyle right there, setting up in from Miggy. Maybe the scouting report on Jed to pound him in. It's not like Kyle to go in early on a hitter.
This next pitch is away, and it's carrying. Hayward is back and has room just under the basket. Tricky play in right.
Now, guys, this is a ball that, if it's hit an hour ago, finds the seats where the wind was blowing out to right field earlier in the day. But since the game has started, that wind is blowing essentially straight in, and Jerko puts a pretty good charge in this ball. You see him, Hayward, kind of feeling for the wall at the well out there. Does a good job of finding where he is and then turning it into an easy play.
So 2 good plays already in right field for Jason Hayward tonight. He's trying to deal with the sun like everybody else in right field is. And here's Yadier Molina. Takes just outside for ball 1. Sun will set soon over the stands on the third base side of the field. But right now for Hayward, not to mention the Three Stooges, us out here in right field. So David's got his sunglasses on. Mine are conveniently located in my glove compartment in my car at the airport, so I got that taken care of. Why aren't you wearing yours?
I just find it better. I can see the monitor and flip, you know. I don't know. Might join you.
Molina drives one to center field, and Happ stumbling again, almost identical to what he did in the first inning when he made a catch. Wonder if he has to replace a divot out there or something.
Get some spikes on that young man?
Yeah, he's not a natural center fielder, so he's still finding his footing out here in Wrigley. Pretty good job of staying on your feet, though.
Keep those eyes as still as you can.
There you go. Right on your toes. They used to tell me that. I was like, that's impossible.
So a couple of interesting fly ball outs here in the second, and here's Tommy Pham, the left fielder for the Cardinals, hitting over 300 on the season, and with some pop too. Got 5 home runs and 82 at bats on the season. You see the OPS well over 900.
And you know, we talked about Hendricks early, but one thing to keep an eye on him, even though it's not going to be high velocity, keep an eye on the fastball number. It's typically been 85, 86, 87 so far tonight. That's something that Joe Maddon does keep an eye on. That velocity has been down a little bit for him this year. This year more 85 plus, whereas last year it was over 87 miles an hour. Joe feels like when he's closer to that 87, usually ends up being a real good night for Kyle Hendricks.
Out to second, and that's the inning. The Cardinals go in order again to the bottom of the second. No score at Wrigley. Shulman, David Ross, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. If you like that commercial for the Rizzo Foundation, you might like the outtakes as well.
What took you so long?
I can't do this.
They're out of raspberry scones, but I got you a zucchini vegan thing. They're out of raspberry scones. You got to stop smiling. All right, sorry. Here we go. Lock in. Here we go. Bottom of the ninth. They're out of raspberry scones. I got you a zucchini vegan muffin. A vegan zucchini muffin, actually.
A zucchini muffin, is that a thing? We put the ding in dingers.
First pitch, bottom of the second, sent to center field, but again, the wind blowing in. Fowler is there. Hayward retired, one down. All right, how many takes to get zucchini vegan muffin in there?
There was a lot. It was like white mocha. They wanted me to say a venti white mocha thing. There's all kind of stuff. I couldn't get the zucchini muffin at all.
I like when you say, all right, ninth inning, lock in,
Right.
and your eyes lock in on it. Like, hey, let's get serious.
Well,
Give
they
me
kept
another
laughing.
time.
They
Yeah.
kept laughing, and it was throwing me off, and they couldn't take me serious. I couldn't take them serious. They liked punking the old guy for a little bit.
Well, they liked punking you last year when you were a teammate, too, right?
Yeah, these guys don't stop giving me a hard time.
You know, it's easy to say when a team is doing well, boy, they look like they've got great chemistry or great camaraderie, but it really looked like it. And you with Bryant and Rizzo, it really looked like there was a bond with you three guys.
There's a great guys. I mean, the whole dugout last year on the team, like you talked about Dexter earlier. We had guys like Travis Wood, all the way in the bullpen. Everybody was just super accountable, good guys on and off the field. Whether you're doing well or doing poorly, the guys just seem to bring a good attitude every day and respected one another. Except for me, of course.
Miguel Montero strikes out, 2 down. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Lexus. Experience amazing. And America's biopharmaceutical companies. Go boldly. 2 down, bases empty, no score. Hot night, temperature in the mid-80s here in Chicago. The Cardinals and the Cubs in the final game of this 3-game series. Cubs with a 3-2 win Friday, a 5-3 win last night. Here is Addison Russell. Drove in 95 runs last year, but man, is he scuffling right now. In his last 28 games, he's hitting only 140. And Joe Madden has been alternating Russell and Javier Baez at short in recent days. Baez has really started to come out of it. He's swinging the bat well right now. But Joe Madden, he's got one of them going. He wants to get both of them going, and then he says he'll get back to kind of their normal rhythm and routine of moving people around where Zobrist could move to different positions.
This is another one of those guys where I feel like a younger guy hadn't had a chance to struggle much. Finally having some struggles this year. Second full season in the league. You know, once Addy gets going, this team would be a lot different. You know, he's one of those guys that are struggling right now.
I think he's got to get back from a thought process standpoint. It sounds simple, hitting line drives. I think he's gotten really into this launch angle that's a big deal in Major League Baseball, and I think his swing path is right now geared towards hitting fly balls. I think he's getting beat a little bit. I think his thought process needs to be line drives, and that'll result, I think, in him shortening up his swing, and he's got outstanding bat speed, outstanding natural power. Those balls will eventually start to fly.
And he looks a little in between to me right now too, like you're saying. That leg kick and hands and all aren't working together.
He'll take the walk, and coincidentally, Buster Olney's column today on ESPN.com is about how launch angle has kind of taken over baseball. And Buster, you've talked to executives who say it's not for everybody, or at least it shouldn't be, right?
Executive, managers, coaches, and that's the feedback that I got, that they feel like it works for some hitters, like a Josh Donaldson, maybe like a Chris Bryant, but there are a lot of hitters who maybe don't have the skill set to do that effectively.
Kyle Hendricks, the batter.
Booney, what were you taught when you were coming up? No, seriously. I mean,
get on top of the ball, hit the ball hard on the ground, which I don't buy into that philosophy at all.
Well, and I was taught hit the ball and cut it in half. You know, we were trying to find that line drive and backspin, and it seems to be totally different now with you know, launch angles and staying connected and uppercuts and I get it. I get hit the ball out of the ballpark, but like Buster said, it's not for everybody.
Line drives through the middle, you've got to do a lot of things correct in your swing. And if you have that natural power, the ball will fly.
Hendricks called out on strikes, and we're through 2 at Wrigley. No score still between the Cardinals and the Cubs. Bell. Well, you know, some things never change. You know, big star outfielder wants to warm up, play catch between innings. He's looking for somebody. He says, hey, backup catcher, you play catch with me. And that's David Ross up there playing catch.
I was worried I wasn't going to be able to get it back to him. I wouldn't lose. I was surprised my shoulder didn't come out of joint. That's all I had on the ball right there. I couldn't even hit him in the chest. That's pretty good by Jay Hay. I mean, that's a moving target. I'm standing on a chair right there with, I can't move anywhere, so I'm stationary, and he hit me right in the chest every time. It's pretty impressive.
How about the rock star status when David Ross was coming from the set of Baseball Tonight, walking up to the just chorus of cheers and everything?
Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. I don't take that for granted. I'm listening. I keep my head down and smile, but I'm listening. I'm like taking it all in.
Cool.
I love you too, right? The usher who was walking me, security guard, started waving. I was like, thank you, because I don't know what to do when I'm on the field. People start cheering for me. It's so rare.
Well, we were here doing a game last year against the Cardinals, actually, a Sunday night game. And you had hit a regular season game. You had hit a home run earlier in the game, and then Joe Maddon came out it looked like he was going to make a pitching change. But what he actually did was take you out of the game to get you one more ovation. You didn't know that was coming, right?
No, and that was one of the favorite moments of my year last year, and a lot of great things happened. But when we started the game, and I got a standing ovation because my last home game, and Yachty gave me that. He walked out. I got a ton of respect for Yachty giving me that moment, and then I think I punched out or something. And then the next time I got up and he gave me it again, and I hit a home run, and I got a standing ovation and a curtain call, and I don't get too many of those. That was really, really special. Then Joe
I remember it well because before the game they had a nice tribute on the board.
Yep.
And Theo and Jen Hoyer were down there. Right. Your family.
That was
saw some Rossi tears.
Yeah, I did. I've been crying for like 8 months. I'm tired of crying.
Paul DeJong lines one foul. DeJong has come up from the minors, former 4th-round pick, a guy that Mike Matheny and the Cardinals are very high on. Colton Wong is on the DL with an elbow issue, and DeJong homered in his first major league at bat. First major league swing, actually. Became the 9th Cardinal to ever homer in his first major league at bat. He was drafted as a third baseman, but can play third, short, and second. And it kind of feels like, guys, he's made enough of an impression that even when Wong comes back, there's a spot on this roster for DeJong.
Yeah, he's earning playing time, especially with the struggles that this club's had offensively, even defensively. He's had good range out at second base. But a live bat and a guy that can play all over the field, I think he's going to find himself in a nice utility role.
This is pregame, and one of the things we do before every game is we go into the manager's office. So David went into the manager's office with us. He's showing Chris Bryant his press pass.
They were giving me so much crap for having that press pass. They're like, sir, you're too close to the players.
Get the media out of here.
Right. You've gone to the dark side.
I was like, times have changed fast. Jeez Louise.
Because this is your 3rd game for us, right?
Yes.
But your first Cub game.
First one back here. Last time I'd been back here was for the ring ceremony, which was a really cool moment. But it was the last time I felt like a player, so they were really giving me a hard. They told me I had to leave the locker room. I was in there earlier. Media's not allowed in until 3:30. They told me. I was like, come on, guys.
Buffet's off limits.
Please don't sit down. They told me not to sit down. They were ripping me a new one. It was good.
Bryant, Rizzo, and the rest all getting a chance to visit with their ex-teammate today. Here's Aledmus Diaz, the shortstop for the Cardinals, batting in the 8th spot, hitting .255 in the season. A guy who at times last year really had an electric bat. I mean, he had some thump in his bat and put up some very good numbers for the Cardinals. Not quite at that same level so far this season. The Cardinals, like the Cubs probably, just not where they thought they would be. And you can point to a number of different areas on each team and say, well, for the team to get better, this has to improve, that has to improve, and Mike Matheny's looking for the offense as a whole to kind of take that next step. Down the left field line with a foul ball.
Well, with Diaz, he's just had a hard time this season controlling the strike zone. There's been too often where he's fallen behind in the count and he's swinging outside the strike zone. As soon as he controls that a little better, and I believe it's in there for him to do that, it's outstanding bat speed, and it's a live bat. That this is a guy that could find his way back to the top of the lineup once he gets rolling. I really feel like he's an important piece to this offense.
3-2 outside, and the first walk given up in a long time by Hendricks. And the first base runner for the Cardinals. Here's the MLB calendar for the week on ESPN. Tomorrow night, 2 of the top teams in baseball collide as the Nationals take on the Dodgers at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Thursday night, David will be a part of this game at Yankee Stadium as the Yankees host the Red Sox in 1 week from tonight. Sunday night baseball at Fenway as the Red Sox host the Detroit Tigers.
Now, this is what we call the Chicago Cub rule that's been put in this year. You see Ben Zobrist moves over to hold on the first base, so he essentially becomes like the first baseman. Well, there's a new rule. You're only allowed to have a first baseman mitt if you're playing essentially first base. So Anthony Rizzo has to run in and get a different glove and almost has like an infielder's glove on because he's essentially playing second base right now because he's so dynamic in covering the bunt in this kind of situation where you know it's a bunt situation.
Until it feels like last year we never really saw this. And David, did this start just with John Lester because of his difficulty throwing the ball to bases, or was this done with all pitchers last year?
It started with the guys who couldn't handle the bat for the opposing team.
Right.
You know, when you know the 90% chance they're bunting and that you got a non-threat base stealer at first base, you still got a guy to pick off, as you see Kyle do there. Riz had to do this a couple of times last year, just switching gloves, and we had about a 10-minute delay in one game. The umpire was trying to figure out what the rules were last year, so I think they got all that straightened out. And now Riz's got to have a lot of guts to get in that close.
I always felt like if a pitcher that was just okay at handling the bat, I always felt like you wanted to press him as much as you can and force him to swing the bat. And more often than not, I found you net yourself a couple of strikes because they're confused. They realize they don't want to bunt into such a strong defense, and then they do this.
To second, one to first, double play. It pays off. 1-6-3, inning over. Field, the Cubs taking the first two games of the series, and last night won in large part due to a seventh-inning grand slam from Kyle Schwarber, who was 2 for his last 36 at the time. Dropped all the way down to the 9th spot. Yes, the 9th spot. Joe Madden normally bats the pitcher 8. Schwarber hitting 9th. And look at him shaking his head as he came up the stairs as if to say, you know, thanks for hanging in with me, everybody. Man, that was rough, because this is a guy who's had a lot of success in his career, although As Joe Madden pointed out to us before the game today, he said, listen, he didn't play at all last year other than in the World Series. Came back from the knee injury that he suffered, I think, on the second day of the regular season. But what a big hit for Schwarber, a guy they are really counting on for some big offense this year.
He was also quick to point out that he was so happy they went to left center. You know, he said he would have taken the grand slam no matter where it went, but he thought it was a good sign they went to left center.
There's no question about it that Kyle Schwarber can really hit and is going to really hit, but I don't think you can understate, at 23 years of age last year, missing an entire season, and that's after you've only played 2 months in the big leagues the year before, and then you go out and you have the World Series that you did where you really contributed. But that's a lot to miss for not only a young player but any player. I mean, I missed the entire 2004 season coming back from a knee injury, and the start of the 05 season, the first 2 months, was a disaster. I had 150 for 2 months. And
is that bad? And
I had a good spring and thought, I'm back, I'm fine. But you can't say enough about rust. And look, Kyle Schwarber can really hit, but it's a hard thing to do when you've sat for a long time.
Waka with strikeout number 4. But earlier this morning, Clark the Cub, mascot for the Cubs, surprised a girls 7- and 8-year-old softball team at Hamlin Park, part of the Bantam and Pee Wee division. Hamlin Park just a couple of miles southeast of Wrigley Field. They all received bat and ball sets. This is part of MLB's Play Ball Weekend. Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation. Here's a drive deep down the right field line and gone. Ian Happ wraps it around the foul pole for a home run to give the Cubs a 1-0 lead.
Now that's my first home run to watch from the seats. That was pretty impressive. Stayed right inside the foul pole.
Another one in the long line of these young players in this great Chicago Cub pipeline that just comes up and makes an immediate impact. He's been struggling a little bit of late, but in that leadoff hole, and you see the awesome power, almost swinging all one-handed there. Waka missed right in the heart of the plate, and Happ puts a charge into it.
Happ's a guy who can play a number of positions, and when he first came up, he was hot right away for the Cubs. Hit well over 300 in his first 8 games, but was just 4 for his last 32 coming into this game, as Bryant hits one sharply, but right at the shortstop Diaz with a second down. The Cubs had a 6-game road trip last week to Los Angeles and San Diego, and they lost all 6, and they only scored 9 runs in those 6 games, and really 1 through 9 with a position player hitting 9th by and large for Joe Madden. It was a real struggle. So any offense is appreciated offense right now from Joe Madden's perspective.
Well, I feel like everybody's putting so much pressure on themselves, whether it's the pitchers or the defense or the offense. When you're struggling so many facets and you can't find a way to win, everybody starts trying to do more. And, you know, we're just human nature. You want to win so bad that you end up doing more than you're really capable of doing, or the harder you try, the worse you're going to be.
1-0 Cubs on the home run here in the bottom of the 3rd. The batter Anthony Rizzo, who had a base hit his first time up. Michael Waka, until that moment, had looked dominant. 4 strikeouts, throwing hard, still 97 on that fastball. He has brought some very good stuff to the ball game tonight. Part of, as we mentioned off the top, the best rotation in baseball if you look at it in terms of ERA. The Cardinals are number 1. Looks like Adam Wainwright is back on the beam. He is pitching very well recently. Lance Lynn, a very consistent guy. Mike Leake was leading the league in ERA until he pitched against the Cubs yesterday. And Carlos Martinez, their opening day starter. They got 5 very good starting pitchers. Little number back to the mound, and an easy play to end the inning. But the Cubs have the lead. Ian Happ pulls one down the right field line, his 3rd big league home run. 1-0 Cubs. Time now for Unlimited Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile, and we look at the career of one of the best pitchers in the game the last decade or so, Jon Lester, who has won 2 World Series as a member of the Red Sox, 1 as a member of the Cubs, 62 games over 500 in his career, the NLCS MVP a year ago, an All-Star with the Cubs last season, and kind enough to join us live from the dugout tonight. John, we thank you for the time. Dan Schulman, Aaron Boone, and we're going to turn you over to a guy you know pretty well. David Ross wants to interrogate you a little bit.
Hey, John, David Ross here. How you doing, buddy?
David, nice to meet you, buddy.
Well, John, I just got, I have a couple questions here, but first off, I saw that nice pickoff yesterday. I was really impressed, but my question is, where's that been the last 4 years when I was catching you? I had a lot of stress back there. Those guys getting big leads.
Well, Rossi, we all know that you weren't here for your bat, so I wanted to give you a chance to throw some guys out, and that's kind of what I'm doing for Willie right now. We want to get his arbitration numbers up so he can make a little money.
It's all about getting us paid.
That's right. I'm here for you.
I appreciate that, John. I really appreciate it. Hey, we're talking about Waka a little bit, and fastball and angle of pitches, and I was saying that was something that we used to work hard on, is getting down in the zone, that fastball angle and that fastball command, and what a big piece of the puzzle that is for you. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my angle is probably a little bit different than Waka's. I mean, obviously he's so over the top. He's got to get that angle down, and it looks, like Schwarber just came back up and said that was a strike that he struck out on, but it looks like it's down, and it planes out and it rides. Mine, because of the angle I throw at, I want more of that kind of that riding into a righty or away from a lefty angle, almost like a cutter, but not really, just that riding action on your four seam. So yeah, I mean, that was something me and you and Boz have worked on over the last couple of years, and it's something we try to continue to get better with each start and each bullpen.
You're pretty good at it, buddy. I just got to tell you that. You're pretty darn good. You guys got anything?
John, David caught almost every inning that you pitched, by and large, last couple of years. What was the relationship like? How important was that to you?
And you can lie. You don't have to tell the truth here, John.
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be able to work with one guy and really get the best out of each other. I mean, I think that's what it came down to. Is we had a relationship, and Rossi knows we had a couple of times in different games. Remember Atlanta for sure, that stands out. That we had a little blow up in the dugout, but I mean, it's all good, man. Like it's you have that relationship. I know what he's expecting from me. He knows what to do behind the plate and going back and forth, and you just have that trust factor, especially in those big games of what we're trying to do. And if plan A doesn't work, you've got a plan B, and he was really good at going to that plan B and making you believe in it.
Fowler aboard to lead off the inning on the walk. Matt Carpenter, the batter. Who apologized to who after the blow-up?
Oh, I always apologize. He makes more money than I do. I don't want to lose my job. They'll get rid of me. He ain't going anywhere. They'll tell me to go home. I say I'm sorry all the time.
That was a good one, though. That was one of the funnier ones that we had. Was that Atlanta one?
Yeah.
John, you've won 3 world championships now. A lot of talk about what's the impact of the year following for starting pitchers that go on such a deep run. Is there anything different for you leading a staff or that you talk to with the guys on the staff?
You know what? I feel like the thing for me that's changed is just age. As you get older, your body changes and your workout routine changes. You can't lift as heavy and as you once could when you're a little bit younger. Rest becomes a big factor. My routine during the season has changed a lot as far as my throwing the day after and so forth. So, we got some guys, like Lax obviously been through it a couple times, 3 times. Some of these other guys, I'm interested to see some of the see how these guys handle it, and hopefully we go on another run and we get stronger through the year, and we don't have to worry about any injuries or anything like that.
Fowler steals second. John, you guys are a third of the way through the season. You're at 500 right now, 27-27. Is the feeling in the room as strong now as it was at various points last year that, hey, this can be a championship team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all believe in each other. We all think we all believe we're really good, and we're just basically the same team. I just don't think we've done every aspect of the game as well as last year or as well as we can this year to kind of go on a big run. I think we've had spurts where we played really well, and then spurts where we really haven't. So hopefully we can just get a little bit more consistent on all sides of the ball, pitching especially, and get on a little bit of a run here.
John, obviously you've been throwing to David now for a while, but this year with Wilson Contreras, how has that relationship grown over the first third of the season.
Man, it's been great. Willie's done such a good job, not only with my stuff and trying to get to know me, but he's done such a good job with the other guys in the staff, and then includes the bullpen. And he made an emphasis in spring training to really sit down with us and work on it and get to know us and try to figure out what works and kind of our cues and stuff when he comes out to the mound and stuff he needs to say and so forth. So he's done a really, really good job. Obviously the talent is there. He's just young. He's raw right now. He needs to play, and you see each time he plays, he just gets a little bit better in all aspects of his game.
Cardinals with 2 men on, nobody out here in the top of the 4th inning, and Stephen Piscotty sends the first pitch deep left field, and it's gone well up into the bleachers. A 3-run homer for Piscotty to put the Cardinals on top.
Well, Hendricks, you talked about it, had come in having not walked a guy in a long time. A walk in last inning, and now a couple walks to start out this inning. Tries to run that sinking fastball in on the hands, but Piscotty, who got jammed in his first at bat, perhaps looking for it, puts a really nice swing on this ball, and you can see gets the barrel of the bat to it as he pulls those hands in to give the Cardinals the lead here in the 4th.
And the Cardinals now lead 3-1. John Lester visiting with us. John, thank you very much for the time. Continued success. You want to get a last shot in at David?
Johnny, I want to take a second to be outside the press here. I love you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Man.
Take it easy. Thanks for all you've done for me, man. I love you to death.
Love you, buddy.
Good luck.
All right, man. We'll see you guys. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. John Lester of the Chicago Cubs. The Cardinals taking the lead. Stephen Piscotty, guy who had a good year last year, 22 homers, 85 RBIs. He's had some injuries this year. We also mentioned the time that he spent at home after his mother's diagnosis with ALS last week. Remember earlier in the season, Piscotty had that trip around the bases. He ended up being injured. He was hit by the ball 3 times, once going to first, once stealing second, once trying to score or succeeding in scoring on a base hit as he slid in. But he is a guy who, if you look at everybody on the Cardinals and you say, okay, who can make a jump from what they're doing right now, this might be the guy that you would pick, right?
That's the guy for me that's the most dominant bat in their lineup. That's the guy when I was catching on the other team, that's who scared me. I didn't want him to come up, and obviously Jed's having a better year hitting behind him, but Steven was the guy that I feared.
Jerko with a base hit that scoots under the glove of Zobrist into right field.
Well, and even though it's been a struggle for this Cardinals offense, you see the potential in the players that they have. That's a pretty good pitch on the inside corner that Piscotty gets the barrel and is able to keep it fair, and that's a no-doubter really to left field. But with Fowler and Carpenter and their on-base capabilities at the top of this order, if Piscotty comes back and can settle back in, Jerko and his power, there is upside, and especially considering where they've started this season struggling offensively.
2 of the National League's best square off tomorrow night. Our Monday night matchup comes from the West Coast. The Dodgers hosting the Nationals to kick off a 3-game series. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. So 3 runs in on the homer by Piscotty. Jerko aboard. Still nobody out. And the batter is Yadier Molina. Hit a fly ball to center his first time up. How about this? Molina, who is 34 years of age, almost 35. This is the 54th game for the Cardinals, and he has started now 48 of them as a catcher in his mid-30s. He is on pace to start about 143 games this year. And it feels like a semi-constant tug of war. Mike Matheny wants to give him a day off every now and again, but Molina is so resistant to coming out of the lineup.
This is a guy, I mean, we call Albert Pujols a machine. This guy's a machine in my book. I mean, I go back there and I play once every 5 days, and he's there on day games when I'm giving the starter a break after a late night game and extra innings. He's in there, and they need him. You know, he understands that. He understands how much better they are when he's behind the dish. He's the leader of the group. His game calling skills, his game management skills, the way he slows the game down when it's speeding up. Late in the game, he knows how to handle every situation. He's been in almost any situation you can possibly imagine, and for him to be back there is a huge lift. But saying that, being fresh at the end of the year, if you're planning on being a team that does things in September and October, he needs to find a spot to get some rest.
And I think where that freshness will show up is offensively with the bat, because he's a guy that's a very good hitter. But I think that especially at this age, playing every single day, it's going to be hard for him to stay up to where he should be, especially late in the season. And he's an important piece in this lineup, hitting in the middle, hitting 6th, 7th, 5th, 4th at times, wherever Mike Matheny may have him. But I think that tug of war comes down to, I don't think there's anyone in the game that impacts the game by just their presence in the lineup than Yadier Molina. Whether he gets a hit, whatever the catching, just the impact he has on the pitching staff, on the defense, and just the overall game. That's that tug of war that they're constantly battling, and nothing says it more than that right there. With Yadier Molina in the starting lineup since 11, almost a .580 winning percentage, under 500 when he's not.
You need that leadership. You need it in there. But I'm with you that when I caught a lot, and I was a backup for most of my career, but when I did start, I got tired with the bat and my blocking were the two things that went. And I see, Yadi's probably one of the best blockers in the game, but I do see him get, some day games where he's so good with the glove, he can pick most things. But the bat, the thump will come out of the bat when you get tired.
Runner goes, and it's strike 3 called on Molina. Jerko takes second without a throw, and Molina not happy with the call.
Well, we've seen Chris Guccione, the home plate umpire, call some pitches definitely down, and Yadier, I think, thinks that pitch is down, but it definitely catches the bottom of K-zone. Little sinking fastball again that Montero does a good job of reaching out and taking it at the bottom of the strike zone, not carrying it down. Should make you happy right there.
That makes
David.
me, I love that. That's that catch and frame, and when you get those strikes, especially on a strike 3 like that, that pays off, and your pitcher loves you for those.
Molina still not happy. Montero behind the plate catching Hendricks tonight. The batter Tommy Pham, who grounded out his first time up. Back safely.
Let's talk a little bit more about that pitch framing from Miggy. Right here, that ball, with this one's a high, he lets it ride a little bit. Couldn't get enough on that one, but that fastball down there to Yadi, that two-seamer that wants to take your glove down in the zone, to stop that, and there you see a nice block by Miggy. To stop that pitch is so important. If you're lazy and don't, really, manipulate the ball there where you frame it. Booty, if you catch that thing out front and show the umpire a nice target, like Miggy does here, and not let this two-seamer. A lot of guys can be lazy. See him get underneath that ball down there with his body, bring it up just a hair. Looks really good for Gooch back there.
And that's a ball that, when you're facing Kyle Hendricks as a hitter, that's the pitch you want to have the discipline to lay off, because that's biting down and out of the zone. That's a ground ball all day long.
Those two-seam guys, when you're hitting, you're trying to get them up in the zone.
Yep.
I mean, you're trying to get that ball up to where that two-seamer flattens out. Nobody wants to hit that pitch.
In there with a strike, 3-1. David, you caught Hendricks 5 times in your time with the Cubs, a total of 28 innings. He had some good success with you. What was a key for you in dealing with Hendricks?
Well, just that, being down the zone. I hadn't liked today. I feel like his two-seamer's a little flat. I hadn't liked all the amount of fly balls he's given up early on. I know the wind's blowing in, but we've given up a lot of balls to the track. Happ's gone back to center. It's a poke to hit it out here to the warning track. Happ's gone back. Jay Hayes gone back. A lot of fly balls. When he's good, he's getting a lot of ground balls, and I've seen just early on there was a lot of F8s, F9s from their guys, and then the walks. The walks, I think, are most frustrating for him. He's a guy that's a strike thrower. He's going to attack the zone. He's going to attack the corners down the zone. He just hadn't been himself today so far.
Yeah, 2 walks preceding the home run from Piscotty, and there's a high third strike. So he gets Molina at the bottom of the zone. He gets Pham near the top of the zone.
And that's a different pitch right there. You see Matheny arguing, but that's the four-seam fastball, and that is something that Hendricks will do from time to time to counter that sinking fastball. As when you're facing Hendricks, sinker, 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 then all of a sudden he'll pop a four-seamer at you at the top of the zone, and in fact it works like another pitch because he's primarily that sinker, changeup, yeah, an occasional breaking ball, but he can create another pitch with a four-seamer at the top of the zone.
It's definitely another pitch. There's two different signs we have for those two different pitches. Miggy's giving him a wiggle on a sinker, maybe in and out. He'll wiggle the one, and then if he wants the four-seamer, he'll give him a nice firm one in or out with the fingers. So it is essentially two different pitches.
And is the idea to elevate with the four-seam fastball?
There's so much. Sometimes it just depends on the hole of the hitter where you're going. I don't think he was particularly trying to go up to Tommy there, but sometimes you want the bat path may drag a little bit where the two-seamer may speed up. So some guy may be a four-seam away. We're just going to stay four-seam away and make him drive the ball to right because we know his power's not over to right field, and we don't want that leak back. Those leak back two-seamers back of the plate are the ones that usually hit homers. You saw the one not get in to Piscotty earlier, and he mashed that ball. When I caught Kyle's the difference that made for him last year was throwing a changeup in. He started pitching in more 4-2. The four-seamer's got a little cut to it at times into righties. So it's essentially he's going here with the fastball changeup, or he's coming back door. But then when that four-seamer pops, it's got a little jump to it. You're waiting for it to come back, and it just doesn't. That's a good pitch right there. These are the pitches that Kyle needs to be successful. If he's hitting the corners like that, two-seamer coming back or a four-seam. This is a four-seamer stays true out there right on the corner. That's the one Kyle would rather have that one than the up and down. If he's hitting the corners like that, that's a pretty darn good pitch.
Now his 35th pitch of this inning coming up. He kind of sailed through those first 3 innings.
Lined into center field, down for a base hit. Jerko around third and in to score on an RBI single by DeYoung that extends the Cardinals' lead.
Well, Hendricks doesn't get the call on the pitch on the outside corner. DeYoung lives to see another one, and we talked about the spark he's been for this Cardinals offense. He gets a pitch he can handle. Looks like a two-seamer that does come back to the heart of the plate, and he stings this ball back through the middle. And with 2 outs, Jerko going on contact. No chance for Happ to throw him out. A good job at least keeping that ball down to keep DeYoung from being able to move on to second base. But some much needed jolt to offense here from the Cardinals, who have been struggling in that regard.
And Booney, I go back to the walks. The walks to lead off the innings is so uncharacteristic of him. I know he's a ground ball control pitcher. When you have a guy like, and they weren't competitive walks, it was on 4 or 5 pitches each one, and a guy like that's got to have his command if he's going to be successful, especially against this line.
But conversely, for the Cardinals, that's when they're at their best offensively. It's Fowler and Carpenter, on-base machines essentially in their careers and the last couple of years in Major League Baseball. They're able to walk off a tough guy to walk against and set the table now, and you start to see some of that power. Piscotty with his 3rd of the year, that's a big blow and can take a little bit of a load, and you see a lot of smiles now on that bench for a Cardinal offense that for the most part has struggled this year.
That's a fair ball down the line. Coming around to third on the play is DeYoung. Diaz into second with a double, and the Cardinals keep on coming.
And now all of a sudden, Kyle Hendricks, who cruised through 3 innings, is now getting up near 40 pitches for this inning, as Diaz looks like he takes a fastball in the inner half and just laces it inside the bag. Now all of a sudden, he's in danger of being out of this game early, as I'm sure the Cubs are going to have to get action going in that pen now, as that pitch count really starts to climb here in the 4th. Take a look at the last couple pitches. This is the pitch that he doesn't get the call to DeYoung on the outside corner, and then he comes back, and as David talked about, that flatter two-seamer that just kind of runs to the heart of the plate. Fortunately, it stayed in the ballpark, but it was laced back up the middle for a 2-out hit.
Well, I think one thing we haven't touched on that we talked about earlier, but Gooch is a hitter's umpire.
Yep.
You're not getting those board. He's not giving the edges. He's giving a little bit up and down, but he's not giving the edges today. And Kyle needs those when you're throwing it in there. 86, 85, 86 with movement. You need those edges.
Michael Wacha, the battery, takes down and away 1-1. Chris Guccione the home plate umpire tonight, and as David said, known as a hitter's umpire, known to be tight on the corners. Based on MLB's tracking data, he calls strikes fewer than most. There's one there, right on the outside corner, 1-2. So 41 pitches and counting now thrown by Hendricks this inning. The Cardinals getting 3 on a home run by Stephen Piscotty, another one on an RBI single by Paul DeJong. Hendricks, who had been pitching better his last 7 starts after the first 3 of the season didn't go all that well, struggling here in a long 4th inning. Ground ball out to second, and the inning finally over, but the Cardinals score 4 times. Their number 3 hitter, Stephen Piscotty, launches his 3rd home run of the season, and St. Louis has the lead. It's Intentional Talk with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar, a 1-hour breakdown of baseball's hottest topics. You can also see it streaming live on the ESPN app. And I bet you tomorrow the guys talk about the Houston Astros, because they are about as hot as a team can be. The Astros won again today. They've won 10 in a row. They're 41-16.
They're out of the gates like the Cubs were last year.
Absolutely. They're out of control right now.
Watching them, it really does remind me a lot of our team last year. It just, they find a way to win. It doesn't matter. They're down 5 in the 2nd inning. They got 7 by the 4th.
They have such a deep roster and so many, they can play the matchup game. They can match you up defensively late in the game and get a dynamic defense out there. And then I think Carlos Correa is going to another level, that level we've been kind of waiting to see him go to, that in the MVP talk.
American League Player of the Month in the month of May. There's a fly ball to right field. Will it stay in the yard? It will. Just below our vantage point here from the bleachers as Piscotty makes the catch.
That was coming right at us. I thought, honestly, I was getting ready to, but the wind, again, blowing straight in, knocks that ball down enough to keep it in the ballpark.
I was searching for my glove again. I was looking for my glove. It's coming right at us.
I think it just gives you an idea of how well Piscotty hit that ball, because that ball was driven right there.
I can't find it in the sun. David's pointing, trying to help me out so I don't take one Right in the forehead.
Just we need the eye black. We should have got some eye black.
You're right.
Eye black. Yeah.
Why didn't we think of that?
Now Jason Hayward pops one up. And quickly 2 down. Time now to go to Buster Olney with the field level report, brought to you by Scott's Roundup for Lawns.
Dan, with the Cardinals and Cubs playing this week, a natural poll question is, what is the most intense rivalry in baseball in 2017? And on ESPN.com, we have 7 different options. Of course, you've got the Cardinals and the Cubs. You've got the Red Sox and the Yankees. Going to my list here. The Dodgers and the Giants, the Rangers and Astros, the Blue Jays and Rangers, Red Sox, Orioles, and we threw one in for Booney, Reds and Cardinals.
Well, some good choices there. Now, Booney played in 2 of these. He played in Red Sox, Yankees, and Reds, Cardinals. David played in 5 of these. David was a very well-traveled guy.
Just a walking rivalry.
Yeah,
I'm a walking utility guy.
So take the 2 Texas ones out, and you played in all the rest. I don't know how we got 2 out, so we might not have time to get into this. But when we talked about this at the meeting this morning, you said there's one of them. Now, you were in the Red Sox, Yankees, you were in the Dodgers, Giants, you were in the Cardinals, Cubs, and you said there's one that stands out way above the rest. Which one is it?
Dodgers, Giants.
Really?
It's ugly. It
is ugly.
It's ugly, man. I'm telling you, the fans, they hate each other. The players don't like each other. This is the Cardinals dominated this rivalry for a while, and the Cubs are start to pick it up the last few years, and are obviously making their stand. And the Yankees Red Sox kind of went back and forth from year to year.
It's a little dormant right now. That Yankee Red Sox one too.
When I used to remember going to those games, like, these people don't like each other. It's not like they don't like the team or they don't like this player. They generally do not like each other.
Don't sleep on Texas Houston right now. Texas dominated the Astros last year. The reason the Astros didn't make the postseason last year, looks like they're returning the favor, and there's no love lost between those 2 teams.
All right, but talk to me a little bit about one that people wouldn't expect to be on the list. But both of you guys played for the Cincinnati Reds, and at times this division, the National League Central, can get kind of nasty. The Reds and the Cardinals have had their issues. The Pirates and the Cardinals have had their issues. What's the Cincinnati-St. Louis dynamic?
Well, so when I was playing here, we're on the losing side a lot of that's the Tony La Russa, Mark McGuire, Pujols, Edmonds, Renteria, those great teams back then that, man, you hated losing to them.
Diving stop on to first, not in time. A great effort by DeYoung, but he can't get it over to first in time. It'll be an infield hit for Russell.
Well, DeYoung here showing you, first of all, some of what he's brought to the table. A little bit of athleticism, a little range. He goes a long way to get this ball, and Addison Russell obviously hustling all the way. The ball's not hit overly hard. He gets a pretty good amount on that throw from his knees, but I think clearly Addison Russell legs that one out now to his foot definitely beat. Yep.
Nice play, though. Wow.
Really nice play.
So the inning will continue for the Cubs. First and second with 2 out. The Cardinals leading 4-1. And Joe Maddon's going to send a pinch hitter up there. Kyle Hendricks' night is done. Albert Almora Jr., an outfielder, part-time player, terrific defensive player, and a guy who's played sporadically this year. He'll come up to pinch hit, hitting .257 on the season.
Just another rookie they're rolling out there. I mean, you talk about all the young guys. We keep going back to it, but Albert's another one of those guys. First full year so far in the big leagues. He came up a little bit last year. Actually made the playoff roster some for his defense last year. But he's got some thump. He's a good kid that plays hard, and a future center fielder here in Chicago.
Breaking ball down and away in the dirt. 1-1 the count. So Hendricks will go 4 innings, be charged with 4 runs, all earned. Gave up the Piscotty home run, walked 3. 2 of those came around to score.
If that Yankee Red Sox rivalry gets back to where it was in '03, that's a pretty.
Is it heavy?
Pretty intense, pretty thick.
Sliced into right field, a base hit.
Oh.
And it's going to get by Piscotty and all the way into the corner. 2 runs will score. And Almora racing all the way around to third.
Well, this is another one of the issues of what's been an issue for this Cardinal club. Piscotty's going to have no chance at throwing out the runner from second base, and frankly, no chance from keeping Addison Russell from getting to third, and there's not a real premium. I think he rushes this, trying to rush his throw, and it ends up costing them another run as it squirts by. Look, he comes up with that ball. There's no chance he's keeping Russell from getting to third, and I don't even know if it's an issue of getting Almora Jr. at second base, but a 3-run lead now, you let 2 runs in instead of 1 with 2 outs. Again, this is something that's been an issue over and over for the Cardinals for the last couple of seasons.
And like you said, the 2 outs, there should be no panic right there.
Right.
Okay, they got 1. Let's keep it at 1. We just had a big inning. Let's keep the game in our favor. Let's just keep them at bay, and you got the number 9 hitter coming up.
So single RBI, E9 allowing the second run to score and allowing Almora to make it to third base. Suddenly it's a 1-run game again. 2 down, runner at third, and here's Schwarber called out on strikes his first time up. Mike Matheny told us before the game the defense is better, but considering where it was coming from, it still has a ways to go. For the Cardinals to be a very good team, the defense has to be better than it's been this season.
And you know the hardest part for me to grasp is when I was coming up, St. Louis is probably one of the most fundamental organizations I had ever seen. If you didn't play solid baseball, you were going to lose St. Louis Cardinals when I was coming up.
Well, and it's not, you know, we're highlighting this error here, which has been a problem, but in this series, we've seen plays not made that aren't errors, but that have frankly played a big role in costing them the first 2 games of this series.
No doubt.
Inside, ball 4.
And I would say in last year, last year the Cardinals were coming off a 100-win season where they won the Central over you guys in 2015. And last year, the biggest difference I felt like in watching a lot of Cubs games and a lot of Cardinals games was absolutely the defense. As Dan said, the Cubs historically great defensively last year, the Cardinals the other side of the spectrum, and I think that was the biggest difference between the 2 clubs.
And it beats you down over the course of a season when you continue to make mistakes. Your pitchers get frustrated. Your coaches are frustrated. The guys who are not making the errors are frustrated. It just is defense is something you can bring every day when you have it, and to have that consistency that you bring to the yard every day is, I think, one of the most important things. It doesn't get talked about a lot until it's bad. If it's good, it never gets talked about because they're talking about the pitchers and their ERA, or they're talking about the wins, and it doesn't talk about the defense. But as soon as the defense is bad, that's the first thing everybody focuses on.
Ian Happ, the batter. Runner goes from first, and Happ hits it a long way, right center, and gone! His second home run of the ball game, and the Cubs are back on top.
Again, this is one of those things, all with 2 outs. Here, looks like a hanging changeup to Happ up in the zone, and he deposited right what you're supposed to do with a changeup up in the zone. I was just thinking about talking about maybe a visit from the catcher, or a visit from the pitching coach, just to slow things down. Things kind of sped up there after that error. Got the crowd involved. There was no sense of slowing the game down from either Yachty, which he usually does a good job of that, or the pitching coach taking a visit to slow things down. I was just thinking now's a good time to everybody get their composure, and there it goes. And here's a curtain call for the youngsters. No better feel than that.
2 home runs tonight for Happ, 3rd and 4th on the season. as Chris Bryant bounces one foul. Remember, the inning began with Waka getting the first two batters, Zobrist and Hayward, then a walk to Montero. Russell reaching on the infield hit, barely safe after that good effort by DeYoung, and then it just kind of spun out of control from there.
And there's no telling how the sloppy play in the field can leak into the psyche of a pitcher, and probably making him feel like I got to be a little more perfect with my pitches, and that can lend it to mistakes.
A 5-run inning for the Cubs, capped by Ian Happ's second home run of the night. And they're dancing in the bullpen here at Wrigley. The Cubs leave the Cardinals 6-4 on Sunday Night Baseball. Moments ago, Buster Olney with Cardinal manager Mike Matheny.
Like Michael Wacha was rolling along there. What do you think a pivotal moment was in that inning becoming unraveled?
Yeah, I'd like to have had maybe strike 3 right there maybe against Montero. But besides that, he's been throwing the ball well. Establishing the bottom of the zone like we talked about. Changeup's been good. They've just capitalized and obviously making mistakes. Whether it's too much at the plate or it's in the field, those are going to add up.
Stephen Piscotty, his first home run since April 15th. How big is that for him?
Yeah, I think just getting him into a positive spot, getting him back into the groove of being in here every day. He's a good hitter, and he's got a big season ahead of him. A little slow starting, but that was big timing, and we got to get back after him.
Mike, thanks.
Piscotty with a 3-run home run for the Cardinals, but Ian Happ with 2 homers, a solo shot and a 3-run shot for the Cubs, who lead 6-4 now in this back-and-forth affair. And here's former Cub Dexter Fowler leading off the 5th against a new pitcher for the Cubs, right-hander Justin Grimm.
Grimmer's a big 4-seam fastball guy, big 12-6 breaking ball, pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. Struggles at times when he loses his fastball command, but when he gets one there, he gets that ball down in the zone. He can run it up there pretty hard, and then in the mid to high 90s, and he's got a really, really tough breaking ball to hit. Dexter's probably going to see a few of those here.
And when he's right with that breaking ball, that really plays as a great pitch against even lefties.
Joe loves to use him against lefties when they try to play the matchups. He likes to bring him in because he's really good against both righties and lefties.
Fowler's flied out and walked, stolen a base and scored. Came in on the Piscotty home run. Check the swing, and it misses down and away. The appeal to third, and no swing. Cubs at 27-27. The Cardinals at 26-27. The leaders in the National League Central. The Milwaukee Brewers at 30-27. A game and a half up on the Cubs. That time he went. It all starts here. The 2017 Major League Baseball Draft. Coverage begins Monday, June 12th on MLB Network and MLB.com. All right, David, give us your draft day story. What do you remember about when you were drafted?
I was at the College World Series. We had just lost. I was flying back, and we landed in the airport in Atlanta, and got a phone call. I had to go call the scout. Back then, I don't even know if there was a cell phone. They got to go find a pay phone. But I called the scout, and I got drafted in the 7th round by the Dodgers, who also drafted me out of high school. Special time, man. You think about, I never was like Booty probably different. I never dreamed of playing in the big leagues. I just tried to continue to play baseball because I love to play it, and it just was a lot of fun for me to have just gone back to the College World Series and then to get drafted, and you don't really know what that means at the time, and I never thought all that's happened to me it was going to happen to me, but when you get that call and you realize you're going to be with a certain organization, it's pretty cool.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Had a few friends over to the house hoping for that call to come on the first day, hopefully in the first couple hours, and got a call from the Reds that they had taken me in the 3rd round, and to be there with family and friends kind of celebrating a moment in your life that I did dream about, and the thought of Riverfront Stadium popping in my head and playing in potentially in that stadium one day was really exciting to me.
Swing and a miss. Carpenter gone, 2 down. Back-to-back strikeouts for Grimm here in the 5th.
I grew up a fan of baseball in the 70s and 80s, and my dad playing at Veteran Stadium. So the old cookie-cutter stadiums that everyone complained about,
that worked for you.
They were the greatest thing in the world to me. That was nostalgia for me. So the opportunity to go play in Riverfront, and Busch, and Three Rivers, and Veteran Stadium, I mean, that was like the ultimate. Those turf bomb fields was the ultimate for me.
To this day, David, Aaron can see any picture from any ballpark, a close-up like of a chair, and he can tell you what ballpark.
Well, that's the thing. You have a different perspective when you're around Booney, because he's lived in these environments his whole life, from a kid to his profession to now after his career and to this career. It's like this is home for him. He comes in here, he's very comfortable in every situation, every locker room, behind the cage, talking about the bullpens, talking with the pitchers, talking with the hitters. He's very, very at home, and it's his life. It's pretty cool.
Batter Stephen Piscotty, who homered his last time up.
Although I don't know what it's like to be a rock star walking out to the booth at Wrigley Field with security.
Me either, but I'm getting used to it.
Booney, stop. Yankee Stadium, come on.
Right?
Let's go.
I got a story for that.
Not quite that. Not quite what I just saw right there.
I got a story. I was sitting with Jed, our GM for the Cubs, and yesterday in the game, and he said he saw Booney after Game 6 in Cleveland, and he said the last guy I want to see was Aaron Boone before Game 7. That's right. The last guy. He said, I got nightmares thinking about Booney going deep off Wake.
He was with the Red Sox, Aaron with the Yankees in the 2003 American League Championship Series. Strike at the knees and a full count on Piscotty.
Listen, when you're talking to Joe Torre the other day on TV, and he goes, Booney, talking about all the great teams. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Joe Torre going, yeah, remember you were there, Harry, you were there.
Hey, both of you guys have some pretty cool moments that you can
no doubt.
that you can savor the rest of your lives. Grimm, the 3-2.
Well, another look at that Stephen Piscotty home run that at the time gave the Cardinals the lead. They try to run that two-seam fastball into him, but a really good swing. Again, with that wind blowing in, Piscotty rides it out of here. And a guy that is critical to the success of the Cardinals with his ability and potential at the plate.
Grimm challenges him again at 97 miles an hour, and Piscotty fouls it off. Eighth pitch of the at-bat upcoming here to Piscotty. Another fastball and another foul back. So how do you decide, David? You're catching Justin Grimm, which you did on a number of occasions. Fastball, fastball, fastball. How do you decide when to mix it up, go to the curve?
That four-seamer's getting just above Piscotty's barrel, and so you don't want to walk him. I think that's where Miggy's set up right down the middle and wants that thing just to ride up. But that breaking ball is tough to throw for a strike in this situation. That's why right there. You didn't want to walk him.
Misses with the curveball and puts him on to bring up Jed Jerko. who's had a really nice year for the Cardinals, hitting for average, hitting for power, playing a solid third base. Let's take a look now at StatCast, powered by AWS. And Mike Matheny telling us before the game what's taken Jerko to the next level is his ability this year to hit the ball with authority to the opposite field.
It really has. When he first came up with the Padres and showed that promise and showed the power that he most certainly has, it was pull power. But now showing the ability to drive the ball out to all fields, an outstanding high ball hitter, and it's been a great start to this season, and looks like he's really starting to find a defensive home also at third base.
But you know as well as I do that when you're catching and calling a game, safety's supposed to be away, and when a guy's driving the ball to the opposite field with power, you know, that's their slug, and then now I got to go in, which is the hardest thing to do, is pitch in consistently in the big leagues. And one, you don't want to hit a guy. One, if you leave it over the middle, that's probably another power spot. They're driving the ball to the opposite field. You got nowhere to go. So then it becomes off speed. Now you're behind in the count. Now you try to go down the way. They're hitting homers to the opposite field. It makes it really tough to call a game.
30 home runs and 400 at bats last year for the Cardinals, and good power numbers with the Padres prior to that. But driving the ball more to the opposite field this year than he has in the past. Grimm locates right down at the knees.
And Miggy's doing a great job at that one low. I know Gooch didn't get in the corners, but he's really stopping that ball at the bottom of the zone. That K zone shows you his glove is stopping it right when it crosses the plate at the bottom, and you need those pitches. If you got a bad catcher back there that takes those down out of the zone, he could be 3-0 right now.
Got him to chase on the curveball, and that'll end the inning. A 2-out walk, but nothing more. Go to the bottom of the fifth. The Cubs leading 6-4.
There he is.
Ross walking down the field. Booney capturing it.
I'll give you that later.
By Taco Bell. Sold out crowd, beautiful night, Wrigley Field, Cardinals and Cubs in the final game of a 3-game series. The Cubs looking to sweep.
Kind of digging that sundown right now, huh?
Kind of digging it too.
That breeze, a little breeze is nice now. This is baseball
David
weather.
was getting a little swampy over there. That back sweat was creeping up.
That catcher, yeah. We sweat from the waist down. It's scary, right? My socks are wet right now.
Just setting behind the stands down the left field line. Wind continues to blow in here at Wrigley. Anthony Rizzo, the batter, and he drives the ball Left center field, well hit and off the wall on the fly. Big carom back in towards the infield, and Rizzo's going to head to third and be tagged out.
Deck set him up right there. Watch Dexter Fowler. This ball, he plays this ball perfectly. Ball off the wall. Dex understands it's either out of here or off the wall. Sees Riz, knows where he starts jogging, sees Riz go and throws right strike on the money. Nice play by Dexter Fowler. Right here, boom. One hot, perfect throw, he's out.
You're saying set him up by not going after it all that hard to bait him to go to third, knowing he could throw him out.
He jogged after that ball. He was in cruise control. He was under control the entire time.
I'm saying whoops-a-daisy. I'm saying good job in not panicking.
He did a good job. I think he set him. If you ask him, he set him up. Riz knew. Riz wanted to test him. They're boys. He's going to get him over there. Dex is looking in the stands right now. He knows.
That's the swing, though, that, you know, we talked about Schwarber and that home run he hit in yesterday's ball game to left field. Rizzo going the other way with authority there off the wall. That is something he was working on out on the field today before batting practice, and just kind of working and hitting the ball the other way and trying to keep his bat in the hitting zone and through the ball. So you see Fowler and Rizzo laughing at each other.
I told you, Riz wanted to be like, I ran on you, and Dex like, no, no, no. He set him up. He knew. They know each other's egos. That's the one thing about playing with another guy. You know what that guy's thinking.
Threw some bait out there.
Yeah.
So it's a double for Rizzo, and then Fowler credited with the outfield assist, 8-5 on the putout. And here's Ben Zobrist, who will draw the walk.
People forget, Dex knows this stadium. He's played here for 2 years, and so right there, no panic, like you said, Booney. One hop, exactly what you want as an infielder, right there. Great tag, getting the leg. Riz, good hustle, good hustle.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you. I mean, you never want to make the first or last out of an inning at third base. So is this a mistake by Rizzo, or just a good gamble that didn't pay off?
I'm against all those. I've seen the baseball rules, the rules of the game kind of come and go, and I'm all about, if you can get to third, as soon as you can get to third, go. I understand maybe not making the last out, but the first, I don't mind as much. You're trying to get into scoring position for your teammates.
Here's a look at it. Drives the ball the other way and thinking maybe this might ride out. But remember, we talked about the wind blowing in, so this ball stays in the park. And at this point, he probably thinks he's got it easy, even though he kicks it into high gear. In the end, it's just perfect execution by Fowler, who I think messed up the plate originally, but then calmly finished it off. And I will say a mistake by Rizzo to make that first out at third.
And with a couple of left-handed batters due up, that's going to be all for Michael Wacha. He is done to the fifth as Mike Matheny goes to the pen for Tyler Lyons. To inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation and making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. This is the second annual Play Ball Weekend, designed by Major League Baseball to celebrate youth baseball and softball participation in communities throughout the United States and Canada. And you can see patches on the jerseys of the players. We've got them on. Everybody's on board. Love to have kids playing baseball and softball. Pitching change. Tyler Lyons into the game for the Cardinals.
Well, Lyons on for the 7th time now, and this is a real opportunity for him to create a role for himself, a significant role in a Cardinal bullpen that for the most part has struggled. Fastball 2 and 4 seams, usually in the upper 80s. Heavy dose of sliders, and then a changeup he'll use mostly to righties. There's the slider, pretty well located and doesn't get the call.
This guy's been around with the Cardinals since 2013, up and down every year. Has been a starter, has been a reliever. One of 3 lefties in the bullpen right now for Mike Matheny. 74 pitches. Michael Wacha comes out, 4 1/3, walked 4, gave up 5 runs in the 4th inning. He's given up a couple of home runs and 2 lefties due up. This was the spot, I guess.
Yeah, it came out of the gate looking really good, pounding the bottom of the strike zone with that fastball to set up his other pitches, but it felt like last inning started to flatten out, getting some more balls up, and some real good swings from Cubs hitters the last 2 innings, and perhaps Matheny sensing that he was losing some of that stuff. Now a spot here with back-to-back lefties to try and get out of this inning, sensing a critical time in this game in the middle innings.
I mean, we'll never know, but we don't know about, you know, that the 2 outs, you know, that getting that 3rd out is always that mental, that mental break, and then they score all those runs, and you come back out in a, you know, a double that you get picked up from your center fielder, and then a walk. You know, Mike's thinking, you know, he's probably running out of gas. Those extra hitters facing after 2 outs, can't lose that mental focus.
Ground ball to second. Nice pick by DeYoung, and he'll get the out on Hayward as Zobrist takes second.
Well, let's take a look at Michael Wacha's night. We talked about him wanting to keep the ball down, and early on we saw mid and high 90s fastballs and a lot in the bottom of the zone. That set up his cutter, his curve, and his changeup, but then he started to flatten out, especially last inning where Happ took him deep. Here at 94 out over the plate where Rizzo rode the ball off the wall. Had a nice play out there to retire him at 3rd, but perhaps just running out of gas here in the middle innings for the Cardinals, and you see him a little frustrated because the night got off to such a nice start for him the first few innings.
First time through the order, all he gave up was a single and a walk, and he struck out 4, but it was a much different story from that point on for Michael Wacha tonight. There's Miguel Montero, who has struck out and walked and scored. Both starting pitchers tonight really struggling with their command, Hendricks and Wacha. Hendricks walked 3 in his 4 innings, and Wacha walked 4 in his 4 1/3.
And those are the most frustrating things, the walks as a catcher, you know, especially on a team where both teams' offense, you're trying to find it. You know, there's been some runs scored today, but when you give them those free passes, it drives you nuts as a manager, as a teammate, especially as a catcher, you know. And I think maybe some of that, like we talked about earlier, maybe some of the strike zone from the umpire, and some of that maybe lack of execution.
Runner at second, 2 down, bottom 5, and the Cubs looking for a sweep, leading the Cardinals 6-4. Ground ball to first, and that'll be that. Through 5 here at Wrigley, Cubs 6 and the Cardinals 4. presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. And Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. We have had some home runs tonight. Stephen Piscotty with a 3-run homer for the Cardinals, and Ian Happ with 2 home runs for the Cubs. And the Cubs lead the Cardinals 6-4 as we go top 6 here on Sunday Night Baseball. The Cardinals a game under 500. The Cubs right at 500. They're both looking up at the Brewers and just ahead of the Pirates and Reds. The entire division separated by just 4 games right now as Hector Rondon enters the game for the Cubs.
Hector Rondon, the former closer of this Cubs team, on for the 23rd time. Worked a scoreless inning in yesterday's ball game. Pretty good strikeout to walk ratio, decent numbers overall, but they want to get him back to being the dynamic reliever he really was for a couple seasons with this club. Fastball mid-90s and a slider.
A lot of options in that bullpen for Joe Maddon. Could go Rondon to Uehara to Edwards to Davis, depending on how Joe Maddon wants to structure it the rest of the way. Still a ways to go in this one. Yadier Molina leads it off for the Cardinals. He is flied out and struck out.
I want to see Ronnie get back to that fastball command down and away. He was so we're talking about angles from Waka. He's another guy that the 4-seam just kind of is planing out and not right there.
And Molina is going to drop it in fair down the line, and he's aboard with a leadoff single.
That's the kind of pitch that ball's a ground ball if it's got any kind of angle to it. But you see it's flat, running in on Yadi. Right here, fastball count, throwing hard, but this ball comes right back over the middle. Yadi's able to jam that ball, stay inside of it, and throw it over the first baseman's head.
And even though he's beat there and he's jammed, it's because of the flatness of that pitch just coming across the plate that it gives it a chance to be a knock.
If he's got any kind of angle there, it's a ground ball to first or second base.
So leadoff man aboard for the Cardinals in the 6th. Tommy Pham is up. He is grounded out and struck out tonight, 0 for 2.
And remember last year when the Cubs went out and got Aroldis Chapman, it wasn't because Hector Rondon wasn't a dominant closer. He was for the better part of a year and a half. They were just adding to it. Then he had the injury and just never got back on track late in the season and was not a real big factor in the postseason. But if they can lock him in, to David's point, to find that command, he can become an impact reliever again for Joe Maddon.
Up and in, 2 balls and a strike on Pham.
When he's behind the ball, you see that front side flying up, and that's why he loses control, and it flies up and in. I think Miggy's going to go slow him down. Right, yeah. Visit from Boz right here. Get him back mechanically in sync. Slow things down. Right, gives him no time.
Maybe a time in a 2-1 count here. Maybe even to mix in a slider just to slow him down a bit.
Just a show me slider, right? Yeah. Sometimes as a catcher, to your point, you want to call some off-speed stuff just to slow down the pitcher and his mechanics. Let him take a little off. Take a step back with maybe an off-speed pitch to dump it in.
You said when he's behind the ball. Tell us what you mean.
Yeah, well, that front side starts flying out, and I know we talk a lot of pitching mechanics at times, but you know that front side starts flying out, and the back side of your arm is just, it's lazy, and your hand gets underneath the ball, and it tends to run up and in, as you saw to Pham right there. When you're behind the ball, and like we're talking about with Waka being on top, you're able to pull down with that front side and get that angle, and it's pretty much 96, 97 down away to anybody is a good pitch.
So that's where you might tap your shoulder or something to say it's kind of the universal you're flying open sign.
Yeah. I did a lot of like stay in the tunnel. You know, look at this his front arm. You can see a little bit here. It'll come open right here. He's uphill, and got to get back over top a little quicker. Maybe some guys shorten their stride. Some guys want to stay in that.
Runner going, throw down, and safe at second. How about that? Yadier Molina steals a base.
Well, we talk about some of the intangibles. Obviously, Yadi realized something. Rondon paying absolute zero attention to him. The big leg kick. Yadier Molina in a 2-2 count, guessing that, hey, we'll put the fastball in play, but anything else might be a chase pitch and a good pitch to run on. And down 2 runs, he gets himself into scoring position.
And that's one thing about, you know, being in division. You know, guys that are slow to the plate, especially when they come in early. When you're coming in the 6th, you know, usually not an inning that Ronnie comes in, but you know division, you know those guys that are slow to the plate. And you got Miggy, who doesn't quite throw as well as Wilson.
And you see him struggling with his command. You know Yadier Molina is going to be a non-factor for him at first. That's the last thing he's thinking about. Yadi goes to school on that.
And after a meeting from the bench, that definitely is the last thing on your brain as a pitcher and a catcher. Is like, we can't throw strikes, and we just had a meeting. I'm forgetting about Yadier Molina at first.
Right.
I'm going to worry about the hitter.
But don't you love the guys who don't have great speed, but they will sneak one every now and again? That's 4 this season now for Yadier Molina.
That's 51 in his career, guys.
It reminds me of his old teammate, Albert Pujols, who hasn't had speed at any point in his career, but has always been that guy who could take an extra base, steal a base, maybe when you weren't expecting it in a big spot.
I like to call those guys baseball players. Yes, I love to see those guys. Watching the game, analyzing any way they can take advantage of another team's weakness or laziness.
So 2 on with a nobody out. The Cardinals threatening. Paul DeYoung, the batter. Albert Pujols, by the way, obviously better known for his power than his speed.
Yep.
Hit career home run number 600 last night, becoming the 9th player in baseball history to hit 600. Hit 445 of those 600 as a member of the St. Louis Cardinals before he moved on to the Angels. And both of you guys played against him extensively. That one will bounce off the arm of Montero. A wild pitch thrown by Rondon, and the runners will advance.
Now I get to talk a little catching here. This is nice. Ball in the dirt here. Miggy can't quite get around. He pulls a slider, just a spike, straight down away. You know, tries to get down there, can't get his body in front. That's just a poor execution. It's in the other batter's box. Couldn't get squared. He's trying to turn right there, get his body back towards home plate, and just can't get around it enough. It's pulled too hard, too sharp.
2-2. And a ground ball to short will get a run home as Molina comes in, and that makes it 6-5. Here's a look at the MLB calendar on ESPN this week. Tomorrow night, 2 of the top teams in baseball, the Nationals and the Dodgers, meet at 10 o'clock Eastern time. We've got a Thursday night game for you this week. The Red Sox and the Yankees at 7 Eastern. And 1 week from tonight, it'll be the Red Sox hosting the Tigers on Sunday Night Baseball. Pedro Strop is now up in the pen. What do you think? Different bullpen situation here at Wrigley from what you're used to. No more down the lines. Now they got these fancy ones under the bleachers.
Yeah, it's weird for me. I like to watch guys warm up and see what's going on. I can't see what's going on, and you know, they put them behind that wall. I think the guys like the AC or the heat when it was cold out here, and the AC when it's hot. But you know, I think it was probably a little cooler for the fans with them on the field.
Have you heard anything from the relievers, either of the Cubs or the visitors, where it kind of takes away from the atmosphere? All of a sudden you're warming up essentially in a cave, and then it's out into this boisterous atmosphere. And
no noise. They talk about the environment of the stadium and hearing the cheers, and you're more watching on TV, and it sounds like it's a pretty soundproof booth in there. So and the sound of the pop of the mitt, all those things sound different inside of there. So you get out here, may not feel like you're throwing as hard, or and then you get in this environment, and you know, it's like you're amped up a little more than being inside, like throwing in the cage.
I know they've talked about actually pumping in some sound from the crowd into those into the bullpens, because they felt like that's something that's missing.
Aledmus Diaz, the batter, a walk and a double tonight. As Rondon is right over the outside edge with a slider, that makes it 2-1.
I would think as a reliever, when you're getting warmed up to go into a ball game, part of getting warmed up is being outside, feeling the crowd, feeling the environment, and all of a sudden it's a complete change of environment when you run out to take your warm-up pitches.
Well, coming from a guy who has a 0 ERA and two innings in the big leagues,
right.
I threw one in Milwaukee. I came in, I threw in the cage and warmed up, and I got out there to the mound and was like, what the heck have I got myself into?
So it's no issue.
That was no big deal. But then I warmed up here, and I couldn't wait to get in the game because I didn't want to stand. I couldn't, out there in front of all the fans. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like standing up here on this bump. Let me get out there. It was awful.
Was that as nerve-wracking as anything you did in baseball?
Worst thing ever.
Really?
Worst. There's big guys up there with bats, and I'm lobbing it in there at 70. That's scary.
His first homer was off a guy.
That's right.
Position player.
There you go, Buster.
Mark Grace.
Mark Grace.
I was hoping he'd make it to the Hall of Fame, at least for the Cubs. Like I took a Hall of Famer deep.
Took another Hall of Famer deep.
Oh man. He roasted me running around the bases too. I'll never forget. He ripped me. We did a radio show the next morning, and he did all the talking. I just laughed the whole time. He
probably bonded you guys together forever.
He was great about it.
Yeah.
3-2. And lined into left center. That ball's going to get all the way to the ivy. Pham in to score easily to tie the game on an RBI double by Diaz.
Well, this is a great sign for the Cardinals, who have gotten offensive production up and down the lineup. But remember, Aledmus Diaz, such an important part of their offense a year ago. It's been a little bit of a slow start for him, getting to be a little bit of a free swinger, but 3 outstanding at-bats tonight. He worked a walk in his first at-bat against Hendricks, doubled in his last at-bat against Hendricks, and there you get a good look at that bat speed from the side. Even though in slow-mo, that ball is laced up the gap. And I just think this guy's too talented of a hitter to struggle for too long. I think eventually he becomes a real impact for this offense. 3 good at-bats tonight.
He's the game changer for me in their lineup. When he's swinging the bat well with his thump, he's got some serious power. He gives you good at-bats and not striking out. He's the guy that's the difference maker that makes their lineup so much deeper.
Joe Maddon on his way out to the mound. Looks like Wilson Contreras is coming into the game as well. Will be a double switch for the Cubs as the Cardinals have scored 2 runs here to tie it in the 6th inning. ...2017 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at MLB.com/vote and catch all of the excitement of the 88th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 11th live on Fox. Back at Wrigley, tied at 6. Changes. Wilson Contreras now into the game on the double switch. Put him in the 8th spot, and the new pitcher is Pedro Strop.
Fastball slider almost 50-50 with those two pitches. That fastball will be in the mid-90s. Command can be an issue at times. You see on for the 24th time, those 10 walks in 17 2/3 inning. But when he's throwing it where he wants, an electric arm.
And the pinch hitter for the Cardinals is Greg Garcia, who's very experienced at this, utility infielder. Now, Jose Martinez had been out in the on-deck circle to pinch hit. We believe that Martinez was announced into the game, and then Joe Madden made the change, and now it's Garcia. And Garcia, a guy, well, David, let me ask you. You were there. I mean, what kind of a hitter? He's not a big name. He doesn't have a lot of pop, but there's a phrase that Aaron used sometimes, a professional hitter. Greg Garcia is that, isn't he?
He's going to give you a professional at bat, as well as a guy like John Jay that's now with the Cubs, used to be with the Cardinals. He's going to stay inside the baseball. He's going to work the middle of the field. He's got some thump. He takes away the slider from Stropey. He's going to make sure he throws strikes. Like he's going to have his at bat. And like Booney said, a professional hitter, a professional AB.
No, that's like Dan said. You know why he's going to give you a professional at bat? Because he's a professional.
There you go. He better. He won't be here, right? That's what. If you don't like it, play better. We say that a lot, right? Like you get these guys that don't give you a professional at bat, they won't be here long.
Diaz out at second. Just one out in the inning, and the Cardinals have scored twice this inning to tie it. Now, why would you say he takes the slider away from Stroh?
Well, he's got that. He's got that the smaller guy, and he doesn't want the left-handed hitter coming into him. I'm just meaning a better pitch for him to see from the left side. So he doesn't take it away. Stropey will still use it, but Stropey's got a splitty he'll use a little bit against guys like this. But he's got to get ahead. He's 2-2 right now. There's that comeback two-seamer.
And he got him looking, 2 down.
He knew it.
Let's go back and take a look at some of what went wrong maybe for Hector Rondon out there.
Yeah, Ronnie, just that ball leaking back over the middle. We talked about it earlier. When he's commanding that fastball down away, that lower quadrant of the box, he's almost unhittable, and that slider works off that. Right there, you're seeing every pitch runs back over the middle. You just can't have that. It's a barrel finder. We call those ones that leak back over.
And that's the guy, Rondon, that they've got to find him, because he's capable of being such an impact reliever at the back end of this strong back end of a bullpen. And when he was right for that couple of years when he was the closer, it was the command along with the stuff was impeccable almost.
No doubt. And I don't know if part of me, and knowing him a little bit, the adrenaline of being the closer was always good for him. He liked that adrenaline. He liked that rush. I think that just had him just, kind of the bayou fastball he wanted to throw. He wasn't scared of anything. And when you get out there and start trying to pitch, that's not in your repertoire. It's not a good idea.
Fowler grounds out. That'll end the inning. Couple of runs across for the Cardinals. We're all tied up at 6 in the 6th from the seats at Wrigley. Every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Dan Schulman, David Ross, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Addison Russell leads off the bottom of the 6th in a 6-6 tie. And a new pitcher on for the Cardinals. Left-hander Brett Cecil induces a ground ball. Nice range there by Jerko. 1 down.
Well, Brett Cecil, one of the offseason acquisitions, signed to a multi-year deal with the Cardinals from the Toronto Blue Jays. It's been a struggle for him. Part of the struggles of this Cardinals bullpen is trying to get Brett Cecil on track because he's been an impact reliever in his career. Mike Matheny knows how important he is potentially to this club, and the command's been a little bit of an issue for him. He'll throw everything at you: fastball, curveball, change, cut fastball. This is a guy they absolutely need to get rolling to be a part of that, what they hope is a good pen.
This is lined up well for Mike. He was telling us earlier how he wanted to get him to face some righties to get that two-seamer to really work down and away. It just seems to be more free to that side of the plate. So I think that's, bringing him in against these two righties, and then Schwarber, he gets the best of both worlds.
Wilson Contreras, his first at bat of the night, came onto the double switch last half inning. A guy who burst onto the scene with a home run in his first major league at bat last year. This year, and David, you talked about it earlier, a number of Cubs, the numbers are just a little bit down from where they were last year. Contreras hitting .248, 5 homers. Skies it into shallow right center, and look out! Piscotty just kept coming. DeYoung will make the catch, and fortunately it looks like everybody's okay.
Well, this is just a case of sometimes it can be so loud going on, and obviously as an infielder you go back and take the ball until you hear someone call you up. But this is a situation where DeYoung is clearly camped under this ball and knows he has it. And I think probably wise to hang in there, because that turns into what would have been a probably difficult play for Piscotty. But this is a situation where you need to have a little bit better communication. Not only could it cost you an out, but it could have cost you an injury, with DeYoung fortunately having his legs taken out and getting up with no effects from it.
Very lucky right there.
And this is something that has been an issue for Cecil so far. Left-handed hitters have really been a problem for him to start out this season. .359, 3 home runs allowed against lefties, and a powerful one at the plate now. And that's that curveball. It's been such a big factor for him in his career, and needs to be a big factor for him, especially against the left-handers. You talked about the two-seamer to the righties. Now that curveball becomes a big pitch for him against lefties.
If they don't have to respect that curveball left on left, and it's really doesn't create a matchup issue. If they can stay on the heater.
Breaking ball down and away, and he falls behind Kyle Schwarber. 2 balls and a strike. Schwarber has struck out and walked and scored tonight. That's got to be a terrible feeling for an infielder, what DeYoung just went through right there. He probably hurt him at the last second. He's concentrating on the ball. And you're right, if his cleats stick in the grass,
yeah,
he might have sustained a serious injury.
And that might have been a situation where once you're camped under it as an infielder, you go back and you do give way to the outfielder calling it. But once you're camped, then you start waving your arms and screaming, I got it, I got it. And that can sometimes give an idea. But again, out here it can get so loud, sometimes it doesn't matter. Here is DeYoung. I don't know if he was necessarily calling it. He certainly wasn't calling it emphatically, and that's why Piscotty probably kept bearing down. But that's a situation where you'd like to think Piscotty might just give a glance and see that he's kind of camped underneath it.
3-2.
And this is another place too, Booney, like we talked about earlier. The wind plays such a big factor. You continue to play the balls in the air. You have to continue to run. You have to continue chasing.
And Mike Matheny not happy with that ball 4 call to Kyle Schwarber, who, according to K-Zone, did catch the inside corner. And you talked about this earlier, David. This is a call that not only with Guccione, but a lot of home plate umpires won't call that inside fastball to left-handers, and clearly it does catch the corner there, and Matheny's letting Guccione hear about it.
And I think Yachty was too. Yachty doesn't look back too much. He gave a little look back right there.
So the inning continues, and the batter is Ian Happ, who has hit 2 home runs in this game, both from the left side.
Yeah, this first one, as Ken Griffey Jr., my old teammate, would say, he caped him. He caped him on that first one. A little one-handed swing, majestic blow to right, and then for good measure takes a changeup and rides it into the bleachers, and we got a little dance-off in the Cubs bullpen. That's become kind of a thing here at Wrigley Field in that new bullpen. Must have been some moves thrown down from David Ross.
They asked me after the game, when are you going to come down and show them some moves? I'm like, I don't know how to dance. I just learned some steps for a couple months, you know?
I think my favorite line of yours today is, I got to get back into retired ball player shape. You actually had to get into better shape to dance. Right?
I lost like 15 pounds doing that. I mean, she put me through the ringer over a 2-3 month period.
You want to split this burger with me?
Heck yeah. What is yes?
This is what you've been up to. We know about Dancing with the Stars, a new book out, Teammate, which was on Joe Madden's desk when we walked into the office. Tell us about the cereal. We didn't know about that.
Yeah, the Grandpa Rossi Crunch. You know, I don't. They asked me, do I want to have a cereal with my name on it? I'm like, yes. Same thing I thought when he asked me if I want to send this burger.
Hey,
yes.
You start burying some of that Grandpa Rossi stuff at late night. You start packing on some pounds again.
It's the love handles. My wife misses the love handles. You know, she liked this side here, something to grab onto.
Well, TV's not much different than baseball. First thing you want to do after ball games, go out and get something to eat. But you got to watch. We're not getting any younger yet.
Well, I'll hit the treadmill at some point, but we'll let me pack some pounds back on. Get my dad bod back.
Big breaking ball and a swing and a miss. Happ strikes out and the inning is over. End of 6. Tied at 6. Grandpa's going to start packing some pounds on right now.
Burger number 2.
The results of this week's poll question, which is the most intense baseball rivalry in 2017? Number 1, Cardinals and Cubs. Red Sox, Yankees, 22%. Orioles, Red Sox, 22%. David Ross, Dodgers, Giants, only 10%. What's up with that?
They're still sleeping on the West Coast. They're at work or something. I don't know what's going on Sunday. They didn't vote. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before once.
They're watching the Warriors.
That's fair.
Good point.
That's fair. So David said emphatically he thought it was Dodgers and Giants. Did you ever actually say what you think the best rivalry in baseball is?
I did.
I don't think you did.
2017. I'm going Astros Rangers.
Right now? Okay.
I think they sneaky hate each other. Little Texas thing going on.
So, in hindsight, you like the move of Houston coming from National League to American League, getting in there with Texas. Good. That's a good deal.
They're in the American League. No, I do. I think it's a good thing.
I didn't like that extra team over there when I was in National League. When I was in Cincinnati, they were still in National League.
Matt Carpenter waves at a ball in the dirt from Pedro Strop. There's that slider down and in. Now Carpenter's going to go have a little meeting with himself outside the batter's box.
This can happen on Strop. He throws so hard and he sells his slider so well, full arm speed. That's the thing with these pitchers. If you get that full arm speed, they commit to that fastball body language, and he committed to that fastball and it just disappeared.
Carpenter 0 for 2 with a walk. Russell playing up the middle, 1 down. Pedro Strop has settled things down since coming into the game. He's retired all 3 batters he's faced, but now he'll have to deal with Stephen Piscotty, who's got a big 3-run home run tonight for the Cardinals.
And has been pretty locked in his at-bats. He walked in his last at-bat. Clearly seeing the ball well in his return tonight.
Ground ball to third. Quickly 2 down.
All right.
You boys,
dancing machine.
You guys
get that voice ready.
Ready? You got a job ahead of you coming up now.
Yeah. we got the 7th inning stretch. Dancer, singer, former ball player.
I'm going to be a background singer.
No, you just let it out. The people want to hear us. I'm telling you. They love it when you give it your all. That's all America wants.
You've done it before.
They want to hear Grandpa Rossi. I'll just be there to support you.
That's
all right. That's fair enough.
That's fair.
That's fair enough.
This is your turf. All right, here it comes.
Let's do it.
3 up, 3 down. 7th inning stretch. You know what that means. Time to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." David Ross and Aaron Boone going to take it from here.
For "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" from the Budweiser bleachers, ESPN broadcasters Aaron Boone and David Ross.
All right, Chicago, good to be back. Let's sing this with Booney. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, for it's root for the. If they don't win, it's a shame. You're out at the old ball game. Yeah! Thank you, Chicago! Let's get some runs!
Offense in this one tonight. Stephen Piscotty with a 3-run home run for the Cardinals back in the 4th, made it 3-1. Near disaster averted on that collision between Piscotty and Paul DeJong. And the Cubs getting back into it. Albert Almora with a single, advancing at a 2-base error. 2 runs would score on the play, and Ian Happ with a non-1. But 2 home runs tonight for the Cubs, and that means you get a curtain call here at Wrigley. We go bottom of 7, tied at 6. Final game of this 3-game series. The Cubs winning the first 2, 3-2 Friday night, 5-3 on Saturday. Neither Kyle Hendricks nor Michael Wacha lasted particularly long in this game. And Chris Bryant grounds out of the first pitch of the inning from the new Cardinals pitcher, Matt Bowman.
Well, this is the portion where Mike Matheny's the most pleased with in the bullpen. Matt Bowman, even though that ERA is a little high, he's been a guy that he can absolutely trust. 4 and 2 seam fastball, a lot of sinking fastballs, likes to put the ball on the ground, changeup and slider. And now in a tie game here in the 7th, you would think in a perfect world for the Cardinals, it would now go Bowman, Rosenthal, and hope that their offense can break through in the later innings.
Now, the back end of the bullpen's been pretty good for the Cardinals, but the middle group has surrendered a lot of runs. Cardinals have given up a lot of leads this year as Bowman misses low ball 1 to Anthony Rizzo. Did you guys have fun with that, singing the 7th inning stretch?
That was a blast.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was a blast.
You know, Booney, I think if we bring David out another time or two, he might break out of that shell and get rid of that shyness that we've seen from him tonight. So.
Seriously.
Sorry, these people make me feel so good. That's what I know. The guys in the truck over there had like an over/under on the wheeze I was going to say today. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm trying to turn the page and be proper, but it just comes out. I feel so at home around these guys in the stadium. So I think the over/under was 4. I think I'm at like 13, 14.
Blue by it, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to be unbiased. Pitch.
Bowman with a good changeup there. Rizzo swings through it. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So Wacha, Lyons, Cecil, and now Bowman for the Cardinals, who are heading to Cincinnati for a series after this game tonight. Pitch in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Cubs rather will stay home and open up a 3-game series with Miami, and then Colorado comes to town. The Rockies, one of the more interesting teams in baseball in the first couple of months of the season. The Rockies and Diamondbacks both making a lot of noise out in the National League West. Smoked up the middle, a base hit. All right, David, you're a guy who can take us back in time. Take us back to last October, Game 7 of the World Series, rain delay, Indians and Cubs. This is a cartoonist rendering of the speech given by Jason Hayward in the weight room in Cleveland. You were in the room. Tell us about it.
You know, he called everybody in, and with the season that Jason was having last year and struggling in that big contract, and you know, he expects a lot from himself. It had been the same guy, and for him to call the meeting, he doesn't say a whole lot. Called us all in there, wanted to say he wanted to talk to the players for a minute, and he just said, hey, let's get back to who we are. We're the best team in baseball. We care about one another. We play for one another. Forget all the things that have happened up to this point. Let's be us.
Zobrist with a fly ball to right, 2 down. What were the ups and downs of Game 7 like? I mean, that's one of the craziest games to decide a World Series that's ever happened.
Everybody always asks me, he's like, man, you guys put me through the ringer. I said, imagine me. I lost a couple years off my life, I think, with that game. It was rough. I mean, you know, you've got all the changes that were going on with me personally when you're going in the game later with John and then, you know, getting those at bats and trying to hone in those emotions and trying to still be a rock solid guy on the bench for the guys that were. I had never been in that situation, and you know, guys lean on you even though you're the veteran. I'd never been in a Game 7, and this is my last game of my career too, coupled with all that, and all I wanted to do was win so bad. It's a lot, you know, that I've never been so down on myself than I was when Rajai Davis hit that ball over left. You know, I don't get pretty down later on in my career on myself or the situations of the game, and man, I wanted to crawl in a hole when that ball went out. So the resiliency of the group and the guys just. It still amazed me what a young group and continue to have at bats. Kyle Schwarber says to me out of that thing, I'm going deep, and I mean he hit a laser. It didn't go out, but he hit an absolute rocket.
Do you feel like the rain delay was a real positive thing for you guys and settled you down?
I think so, for sure. I think it allowed us to get our mental state back. I think we were kind of all over the place, like how did this happen? And Jay Hay just kind of brought things. It wasn't an emotional speech. It was just like, hey, we care about one another. We love one another. Let's play for one another. Let's do what we do. We are the best team in baseball. Let's go out there and just do what we do. And it started right out. We needed a little bit of break and a kind of a reset button in our minds, and that was the perfect time. And when he speaks, he doesn't say much often, like I said, but when he speaks, it carries a lot of weight.
Going to be no play. Infield hit for Hayward. Rizzo up to second.
Well, it's been a much better start to 2017 for Jason Hayward. This is another ball hit pretty well off his bat that Bowman almost makes an excellent play. It's hit sharply, but it just kind of kicks off the tip of his glove, and that really slowed it down to not really give DeYoung a chance to get the force out at second base. So you see Rizzo just too far along. Even if he's able to get off a good throw, I don't think it matters. And now an RBI opportunity now for the Cubs.
This is a guy we talked about earlier when we were talking about Garcia. This is another guy, just a professional at bat, year in and year out. It's been with a few different teams now, but I know Theo and Jed got a lot of confidence, and Joe got a lot of confidence in this guy at the plate because he's going to give you a good at bat.
John Jay, the former Cardinal, who spent the first 6 years of his major league career with St. Louis, last year with San Diego, and now with the Cubs this season. And very good pinch hitting numbers on the season for Jay. 8 for 19.
And very good going the other way. And you can bet against a sinker baller, he's looking to see something deep and just work it the other way. They go something soft, that may speed him up, but he's looking to hit the ball the other way.
I saw yesterday when he pinch hit a lot of foul balls to the left side. Like you say, he stays inside the ball so well. He's got that signature left center power. And like you said, if they throw him something soft, speed it up, and that's where his home runs come in. But he's hit so many doubles when I've been catching to the left center gap. He was one of those guys that drove me crazy because he was going to put an at bat on you.
I like that attempt. Yachty set up inside there, and they try and go in. That's a spot that you can have success if you can command it in there. But as you've touched on, a tough thing to do is command that inside part of the plate to lefties.
Very tough. And the Cubs have struggled with runners in scoring position. I think that's what's going to put them over the hump when they start getting the big 2-out knocks. That's what winning teams do. They get that 2-out hit. They kind of get some momentum going in situations like that. They've struggled with guys in scoring position.
Kind of hard to believe, last in the National League in a batting average this year with the runners in scoring position. When you look at the track records and the resumes of the players on the team, and Joe Maddon very optimistic that, yeah, although they're 27-27, he feels they're better than that. I think most people would agree when you look at the talent that it's probably inevitable that the Cubs get going in a better direction than the first 54 games have gone for them so far. Just 500 right now. And there is Jay going the other way, as you said, lining the ball into left center, a base hit. Cubs have the lead. The run will score. Hayward caught in a rundown, and that'll end the inning, but the Cubs do take the lead on the pinch hit RBI single by John Jay.
Looked like an off-speed pitch that just hung up there. It's off the plate. But we talked about Jay covering the plate, and the dugout fired up knowing they got the lead.
is presented by Taco Bell's new Naked Chicken Chips, and in part by the United States Marine Corps. The few, the proud, the Marines. Try to loosen up a little.
Couple clowns right there.
That was great. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun. What a night. What a night it's turned out. That sun went away. And
yep. It got
that
nice
signed me up for this.
Cubs have the lead 7-6 going to the top of the 8th inning. And a new pitcher, Carl Edwards Jr., a guy with a live arm.
Yeah, this is the guy that's really emerged. Fastball, power, curveball combination. And he has become, without question, the setup man now ahead of Wade Davis. We saw him emerge the second half of last season. He's taken it to another level here the first third of this season.
A lot of guys don't realize he throws so hard, but he's got a natural cut to his fastball.
Yep.
It just runs, runs away from righties and ends the lefties, and you can't really see it. And he's not doing it on purpose. Just got that natural cut to it, and when he's got that thing on down away, man, it's exploding.
Oh, 2 to Molina. Big leg kick, ground ball to short, just like that one down. A reminder, weekdays on ESPN2, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. It's Intentional Talk. Chris Rose and Kevin Millar, a 1-hour breakdown of baseball's hottest topics. You can also see it streaming live on the ESPN app. No shortage of stuff to talk about in recent days. The guys have talked about the Mike Trout injury and the Strickland Harper situation. Albert Pujols hitting his 600th last night. No doubt they'll talk about that tomorrow. The Astros, who never lose, ever. We'll see Houston in a couple of weeks. The Red Sox are there 2 weeks from tonight. We'll have it on Sunday Night Baseball. There's that cut you were talking about on that last pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost one of those invisibles. You saw it, Yachty run out of bat, trying to go the other way and still pulled it. And then you got a ball that when it's got that cut to it, got a little bit of depth to it. Pham swings right through a ball in the heart of the plate. Just explodes out of his hand. He's got a good breaking ball too. That's big differential in miles per hour, and he can throw it for a strike pretty much any time. So he's got, and he's a wiry, skinny kid out there. I loved catching him. He's putting everything he's got into that ball.
And he makes a great grab on the mound.
Well, perhaps the difference in this game right now. Remember the line drive off of Hayward that tipped off the glove of Bowman that set up that go-ahead run here. Edwards Jr. just self-preservation, just instinctively fires that glove up, and oh my, look what I found. A big second out here in the 8th. A bullet off the bat of Pham. Catch your breath there for a second.
Get your heart rate down a bit.
Get your attention.
Yep. 2 down in the inning. And the batter DeYoung, who is 1 for 3, has a couple of RBIs on the night. 1 on a base hit, 1 on a ground out.
And he has the ability with that cut fastball, Booney, to throw pretty much fastballs like you've seen so far. He can pitch with just his fastball when you got a lead and you can command down and away.
There's the breaking ball. So you guys were talking about your draft day experiences before. Aaron, you were a 3rd round pick. David, you were a 7th round pick. Carl Edwards Jr. was a 48th round pick. That means that more than 1,400 players were taken before him in that year. And here he is, thriving in the big leagues.
That's amazing to me, especially with all the scouts and all the information these days. Guys, you just can't. One, you can't ever scout heart and determination and hard work, and this kid's bust his tail, and couldn't be happy for a guy that gets drafted in the 48th round and is, probably got potential closure stuff.
Out of Prosperity, South Carolina, and he is certainly prospering at the big league level. 1-2, and the pitch, breaking ball inside.
Well, if you're DeYoung, who's shown the ability to drive the ball the other way, I think you just got to ignore the inner half here, because he doesn't want anything to do with that. A hanging breaking ball will show up, but you got to look for something away, and if it's up, maybe give you a chance to drive something the other way.
Got him. Very good pitching, very good fielding from Carl Edwards Jr. Here in the top of the 8th. Cubs lead. Sports Center at night, hosted by John Abuchagross and John Anderson. A full breakdown from Game 2 of the NBA Finals. The best from the major leagues, Day 8 of the French Open, and everything else you need to know. Sports Center at night coming up next, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Beautiful night in the beautiful city of Chicago. As we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, 7-6, the Cubs are leading the Cardinals, trying to complete a sweep and get over the 500 mark. And out of the bullpen for St. Louis comes hard-throwing right-hander Trevor Rosenthal.
One of the really good things that's happened for the Cardinals so far this year, Trevor Rosenthal, guys, is back. At high 90s fastball, you can see the whip below 1. Look at the strikeout to walk ratio in just 20 1/3 innings. At fastball, though, up around 100 at times. But the command, which was such an issue for him and the injuries last year, that command's been much better. He's throwing that fastball over 80% of the time. He'll mix in a cutter and a change.
And he is the second hardest thrower in baseball this year. Aroldis Chapman is the hardest. Chapman on the DL right now.
Well, look at the base on balls per 9 last year. It was such an issue for him. This year, he's definitely got it back. They really stretched him out in spring training, thinking he might fill a lot of different roles, but he settled back into that back-end reliever that he's been for much of his career. And there you see a couple of high 90s fastballs up in the zone, blowing right past Addison Russell.
And I'm sure, talking to him, the role in spring training where you get more innings and they use you as a starter, you get to find your command a little more and be out there a little more and get that work where you find your rhythm as a pitcher.
He strikes out Addison Russell. He wasn't messing around at all, nothing but heat.
No, fell behind him 2-0 and then just said, I'm going to challenge you with my best fastballs up and on the outer half. And Addison Russell, who's been struggling and always struggles sometimes with that high fastball up in the strike zone, 3 really thrown right by him.
Now Wilson Contreras popped up in his only at bat tonight, came on in a double switch.
You know, I got to face Trevor too many times. But he's one of those guys that throws that heavy ball too. I know it's hard, but it feels like if you do make contact, it's not going anywhere. It feels like it knocks the bat out of your hand. It's like a bowling ball coming in there. Back in the day, I got to catch Darren Dreifert, and he reminds me so much of him with that. Just, I mean, Darren didn't throw as hard as him, but just the ball was so heavy.
Meanwhile, in the Cubs bullpen, you would expect Wade Davis, but it's not. It's Koji Uehara. Davis has pitched each of the last 2 days through 11 pitches on Friday, through 23 in yesterday's game. So it looks like Joe Maddon's going to call on Koji Uehara to try to bring it home. And Uehara, of course, a guy with a lot of experience closing games as well.
We got an opportunity to catch Koji. Boston, that guy.
The Invisiheater.
Invisible. And he paints. I mean, you're talking about a guy who can locate a fastball.
Well, he'll come in, throw 86 mile an hour up in the strike zone and be throwing it by guys.
Right by it. I've never seen anything like it.
Okay, so tell us how to the people who didn't play the game. How can you throw it straight in 86 and they don't hit it?
It's just deception. One, it's a short arm. It's quick. He jumps at you. Yep. You know, it's a lot of body language. As hitters, we're reading body language. You're seeing like that Stropey slider I was talking about. It's a full as all he's got with that slider. Same way with Koji's fastball. It's a true four seam. He's short arm under the ball. It's got that little bit of a ride that goes up, and either guys foul it off. They know it's coming. They foul it off. Or they swing right through it. It's unbelievable. And then he's got a nasty splitty
that's always in the back of your mind.
Right. Change up there from Rosenthal to get Contreras.
I love the call. Yadier Molina reading swings. Contreras had a much better pass on the 2-1 fastball that he fouled off. Yadier goes to school on that. And after all heaters, he breaks out his first changeup of the night, and it's a beauty. Contreras way out in front as the bottom falls out.
The 2 down, and here's Schwarber. Ooh, and he was dialing it up for 99, and he got 99, but he couldn't catch up to it.
Well, and he's going to get it again now. If he can execute at the top of the strike zone like that, that's where they'll continue to go until Yadi perhaps reads a swing where he makes an adjustment.
What a difference a year makes for Trevor Rosenthal.
When you've got guys like they're throwing 99, you know, the Dodgers do a good job of it. They pitch up in the zone on purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like Rosenthal is one of those guys that can throw it up there, and everybody know it's coming, and you got no chance of hitting it. The game's changing in that way. 4-seamers up, 12-6 breaking balls are a lot more prevalent than when I was coming up.
Well, all these guys and their launch angles, it's to counteract the sinker and that ball on the ground. So we are seeing more and more 4-seam fastballs. We've seen Kyle Hendricks incorporate that more into his game as a true sinker baller. We've seen a guy like Rick Porcello last year go out and win the Cy Young Award. When you thought of him, it was always sinker, breaking ball. But last year, a lot more 4-seamers at the top of the zone, just to get it. Essentially works as another pitch.
That's what we were talking about earlier with Kyle. You're adding a pitch to your repertoire with these exact same mechanics, the exact same arm, velocity, what you're trying to do with the baseball. You're just gripping it in a different way, and you're just letting it eat to one side of the plate.
Full count on Schwarber. In on his hands, and he fouls it off. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th. The Cardinals will send out Diaz, their number 8 hitter, then the pitcher spot, and then back to the top of the order for Fowler.
Well, Schwarber might have gone after ball 4 here as he ran the fastball in on his hands. You see it, that bat shatter. Look out, look out. It's coming at you.
Ball 4.
Well, more progress for Kyle Schwarber tonight. No hits on the night, and after striking out his first at bat, 3 walks now, and this is what they expect and know they'll eventually get from Schwarber when he locks in. That ability to work counts, to get on base, and provide that tremendous power.
Two-out base runner for the Cubs, and Ian Happ the batter. 2 for 4 tonight. 2 home runs. He's driven in 4.
You see him nod his head right there, like, okay. Look, when you haven't faced a guy and you step up there and guys letting it eat like Rosenthal, it's not a bad thing to get a first pitch rip at it to kind of, okay, this is a different level coming at me right now.
Out a piece, but he fouls it off 0-2. Another 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yachty didn't like that one. Rerun it. Change up. Just keeping him honest. It's funny sometimes you got
no way he doubles up.
No chance. I wouldn't. I would have thrown another heater, but you know, it's all about command up in the zone, depending on where he wants it. But that's it. Sometimes as a catcher, you've got 2 pitches in your head, and you know, you don't want to get beat with something crazy.
That's perfect execution, though. That's the place where you can get a chase right there, just above the strike zone. Give credit to Happ there for being able to lay off. But this is a really nice 1-2 pitch. You see Yachty reach for it, point that he wants this ball up, but a lot of times you'll see a guy overthrow this and it'll end up around eye high, and that's not a pitch typically a good hitter will go at. That's a pitch they might offer at.
2-2. Upstairs again. Full count. Schwarber will be on the move.
That's the one he didn't want to make. And you see Yachty's body language like, no, that's too high. That's not one that he's even going to think about offering at.
That's that hard thing about pitching up in the zone, too, is how much is the umpire going to give you? We're not trained to do that as pitchers, to throw the ball up in the zone. How much they practice that in the bullpens, they never do it. So to get out there in the game and let it eat as a bullpen guy up in the zone is just natural. It's going to be up too high sometimes.
And I think in those spots, sometimes a pitcher will overthrow that instead of throwing it to the spot they want and letting their natural thing. And that's when they lose complete command of it. Like Rosenthal probably tried to overthrow that one a bit.
Totally agree.
Runner goes, and he got him. Swing and miss at a changeup. And that's it for the Cubs in the bottom of the 8th. Top 9, Cubs up a run. Last chance for the Cardinals. Final time we're in the seats of the ballpark this year. We come to you from the right field bleachers at Wrigley Field. Just, I guess, not technically not the bleachers. We're just over to the side of the bleachers here, a little patio area. There's Mr. Ross. There's Mr. Boone. Wait, Mr. Boone.
Hi.
Doing his scorecard. We got changes, and we got to have our scorecards lined up here.
I'm getting better at keeping score.
You are.
You're money. You're dominating me tonight.
I've been cheating off you something.
Ben Zobrist moves from second base to left field. Javier Baez comes into the game at second base. So Schwarber's out of the game. And the new pitcher is Koji Uehara.
Well, it's going to be fastball split. He'll occasionally cut that fastball, but you see on for the. He's had some save opportunities this year, blown a couple of those saves, but a number of saves in his career, and obviously some huge games with the Boston Red Sox. Always usually outstanding command, but typically not more than usually 86, 87 with that fastball.
Just low, and a 2-1 count now on Aledmus Diaz.
This is definitely a guy who needs, like Kyle, needs the zone, needs the umpire to give him a little bit on the corners when he's working, because he can really dominate one side of the plate.
There's that fastball up. 2-1 count. You think at hitter's count, a guy like Diaz, who's such a good fastball hitter, and he throws this fastball right in the heart of the plate and up in the strike zone, blown right past him.
And there's the foul ball right there.
There's the foul
Middle
ball.
of the plate.
And now all of a sudden with 2 strikes, he's got the split in his mind. He knows he's got to account for that, and that plays up that fastball even more.
If he was late on a ball 85 right down the middle, fouled it off.
Two again. Fastball popped up back of the plate. Contreras won't have a play. Koji Uehara is 42 years old and still pitching in a very prominent role in the big leagues.
I think he just bought himself the first split, though. A little better swing at that, a little better timed up on that fastball from Diaz there. I know it's in the back of his mind. I think here's the time you might see it broken out for the first time. Nope.
Coming on in center field. Happ's there, one down. Cubs 2 outs away from a sweep, and now Uehara will face a guy. We were told that the official scorer had said that Jose Martinez had been announced into the game before he was called back, and then Greg Garcia came up. Evidently that's not true, because here he is. So Martinez comes up to bat in the pitcher spot here in the 9th. Martinez, a guy who had a big spring, first baseman, corner outfielder, can swing the bat.
Koji's a guy too. We were talking earlier, he hadn't thrown one yet because he's been able to get away with that, but he can throw that splitty to both sides of the plate, which most guys can't do. I've never seen a guy control the split finger like they do a fastball like he can. He can throw it in to righties, away to righties, into lefties, away to lefties, as well as that fastball. So he's basically 2 pitches, but he can command both sides of the plate with it.
Throwing a lot of fastballs tonight.
I think all to this point.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that's had such a knack for when to, he sneaks fastballs by you, but has a knack for when to pull out the split.
There's those pitchers that read swings better than catchers do sometimes. He's one of those guys. He's one, like you said, his age and his experience and the environments he's been in both leagues over in Japan and now here for a long time. He's seen a lot of different ways that guys are trying to attack him, and he can read those swings and the foul balls that he gets and how to attack those guys. And I bet he's even analyzing the win on Koji.
1 ball, 2 strikes. There's the splitter. Strike 3 called.
Well, we'll Show you the last two pitches here. It was another fastball on the pitch prior. Little late swing, foul an 88-mile-an-hour way, and this time Contreras wants this ball down, might have even wanted it down in the dirt. It stays in the strike zone, but to your point, commands it on the corner. Martinez unable to pull the trigger on the first one he sees.
So former Cub Dexter Fowler, last man standing right now for the Cardinals. Splitter for a strike. Fowler homered in his first at bat this weekend here. That was on Friday. Got his World Series ring before the game and then led off the ball game with a home run. 0 for 3 with a walk tonight. And the Cardinals down to their final strike, guys, as the Cubs are a strike away from a sweep and getting back over the 500 mark.
Coming home, a big homestand, 9-10 games on this homestand. The weather's starting to warm up. Better swings on the ball tonight. Perhaps the Cubs starting to find some traction.
I think they needed a series like this after that road trip.
0-6 trip out west. Cardinals, meanwhile, with a loss, would fall to 2 games under 500. If the Cubs win tonight, it would be their first 3-game sweep of the Cardinals since September of 2010.
And if the Cardinals do go down, obviously you never want to get swept. You never want to get swept by a division rival, you know, as you start a road trip. But for a team that struggled offensively, a lot of good signs, at least offensively. Diaz with a lot of good swings tonight. The top of the order set the table for that Piscotty home run. So
1-2 again. Well, and the standing's going to be a bit of a consolation for a team that's struggling because nobody's broken away from the pack in this division.
Absolutely. And they know if they can start to swing the bats, even though Waka struggled in the middle innings tonight, for the most part, they've been able to hang their hat on that starting pitching if the offense starts to sync up with it.
And I think that the Cardinals could walk away with this. Obviously, you're a negative sweep, but they've played good baseball.
Throw down to first, and the Cubs win it and sweep the series. Uehara the save. Big night for Ian Happ. He hits a couple of home runs. And the Cubs, coming off an 0-6 road trip, sweep the Cardinals, who fall to 2 games under the 500 mark with the loss tonight. Final score, the Cubs 7 and the Cardinals 6. For Aaron Boone, David Ross, Buster Olney, and our ESPN crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying thanks for watching, and so long from Chicago. SportsCenter is next.